What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV, back here for another stream for you guys. Today we're going to be analysing the transfer window as it did slam shut last night at 11 o'clock. 5 out, 2 in. And yeah, let's get just straight into analysing it. Let's start off with the outgoings first. In terms of the outgoings, Dele Alli, a straight up sale. Well, it was a free transfer originally, but you know, 10 million if he makes 20 appearances, and I heard it gets to 40 million. Dimarzio said this morning if he reaches 40 appearances.
Is that how it works?
80 appearances, sorry.
80, that makes more sense.
80 appearances, yeah, for 40 million.
Well, the funny thing is, they only have 18 games left this season. Yeah. So he can't even get them. We're not going to see any money for him this season.
Not this season. He does have a 2.5-year contract. Yeah,
so will he play 80 games in 2.5 years? Well, Ndombele reached 91 for Tottenham in 2.5 years. So should Dele play more than Ndombele has for Tottenham? We like to think so. You like to think so.
The thing is with Dele, he's a fit guy. He's not that. He's rarely injured. So you would say that he most likely will make the appearances. So I kind of am quite confident that we will get the full whack in the space of 2.5 years.
Yeah, and I think then again, so 40 million's a pretty good deal, I'd say, especially how Dele Alli's been performing over the past nearly 3 years now. So I think it was best to get him out of the team. I think that fire that really broke him into the team back in 2015 had sadly dissipated from him, and he hasn't been the same player for a while now. He seemed to have lost that hunger to really impact games and that fight that made the difference between him being an average player and him being a brilliant, great player. That's the thing, and that shithousery elements to his game were completely gone. And then without those, he's actually like a fairly, like his attributes aren't that exceptional. And without those, that little bit of playing on the edge that he used to have, all of a sudden he became just a mediocre player. And that's a lot of big difference between Dele back then and now. And maybe he can get it back, but unfortunately at the moment, it's not going to be at Tottenham. I don't think it was never going to happen at Tottenham.
I actually think going to Everton under Frank Lampard is going to be a good move for him. I think Frank Lampard, he knows the attributes he needs to bring out of his game to improve. He was likened a lot to Frank Lampard as a youngster coming through at Tottenham with the attributes that he did bring. So I think it could be a good move for him. It could be Lampard just to give him put an arm around the shoulder and all that stuff, and get him back to his best. I think he will, maybe not back to his top best, but I still think he'll get back to a very competent player and potential back in the running for the England role and stuff like that.
I hope so.
Very, very high chance of it, and it's going to be interesting because Everton come to the Tottenham Stadium next month, and I'm looking forward to giving him a good reception. And I was watching all the compilations on Dele Alli last night, and I did get a bit emotional watching them. You know, he was a fan favourite here for a long time. He holds a special place in most of our hearts because of that period, that time frame under Pochettino. And it's sad to see him go, no matter how it's turned out in the last 3 years and how his form's been. No matter how it's all panned out, it is sad to see him go.
Yeah, there was always that hope that one day he would return to that form in the Tottenham shirt, but it never seemed to happen, did it? You just see it in his performances that he doesn't have that anger about him anymore. There's nothing like in the past 3 years. There's literally been like that little bit of magic has been missing from his game, and that spark has been completely gone. And it's withered away.
The only anger we've ever seen is when he's been substituted.
Exactly. And unfortunately, that's the reality of where Dele is at the moment. I'm hoping he can reinvigorate himself at Everton. I think a big part of it is as well, maybe, you know, when he was a youngster breaking into the team, he had so much to prove. You know, he probably came to Tottenham on, 5-10 grand a week, probably like not a lot of money. And he probably had so much to prove. He was so hungry. You could see it when he was a young teenager, just how hungry he was to impress and break into the team. And ever since he's been on big money, 150 grand a week, you know, he's been centre face of like Boohoo Man and all these things. He's like front and centre of all these advertising campaigns and social media, and then he started an e-gaming company and all this kind of stuff. And I don't know whether it distracted him or not, but you look back at that Mourinho interview with him, and it's just so spot on in terms of how he felt, how he feels, and how everyone feels towards Dele. And that was now 2 years ago. and he really hasn't. And to be honest, watching Dele now in that interview, he kind of had that smile like, I'm not really going to listen to you, basically. That's the kind of look he had on his face. And I think it's borne out. So I think maybe he needs a new voice around him. He just needs a new culture. Maybe he got too comfortable at Tottenham around best mates with Dyer and Son and all that kind of like.
Yeah, and definitely got too comfortable. And his rise to the top was so quick.
Yeah.
So quick. I mean, he came to Spurs as what, an 18-year-old kid or something?
19, yeah.
19. By the time he's 20, he's literally at the top of his game.
Yeah.
Literally.
And he doesn't have, unfortunately, like Harry Kane understood that even though he got himself to the top, you only stay there with more hard work.
He didn't do enough to maintain
with even more hours in the training. Because what happens, it doesn't get easier when you get to the top. It gets harder because people work you out, people analyse you, people find ways to stop you. And Kane realised that, and that's the difference between the ascent in Kane and the ascent in Dele. Kane took that ascent as an opportunity to become one of the best forwards in world football, where Dele saw that ascent as I've made it, and time to relax. This is me. I'm in the big time now. I think he just took his foot off the pedal. And I'm not saying, I'm sure, look, to get to that stage, you have to have a hard-working attitude, I'm sure, but it's those percentage points in elite level football that make all the difference. And he might have dropped off. He could have dropped off 2%, but that makes all the difference.
To be fair, I don't think it was a lot more than 2%.
I'm saying it could have been.
No,
2.
I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying.
And
when you compare those two players, right, Harry Kane and Dele Alli, at that time period, where Dele Alli was coming through and let's say at the top of his game, and Harry Kane, they were both on the same trajectory, right, in terms of their career. Harry Kane would never rest on his laurels. Harry Kane was never satisfied of what he was producing on the pitch. He always knew more was to come. He wants to be the best in the world. He wants to break records. He wants to be the leading Tottenham goal scorer.
Developing more elements to his game as well.
Exactly, always developing things to his game. Unfortunately, Dele Alli just never did that, and he kind of seemed like he did kind of rest on his laurels a bit, and when he got to the big time, he kind of focused on other things and not his football, which was the unfortunate thing about it all. But at the end of the day, I still love Dele. I think a lot of us still love Dele, and I wish him all the best in his future. It'll be hard to see him play against us, but in terms of the actual transfer, getting him out, and the prices that we got and everything surrounding the deal, is it thumbs up for you or is it thumbs down? Yeah,
thumbs up. I think it's important. I think when it comes to Dele, and we'll talk about the other guys as well in a moment, with Ndombele and Lo Celso, I think it's not just the player themselves maybe being upset, they're always being left out and stuff and creating a bad atmosphere, but it's all the drama that surrounds him. You know, it's always a story with Dele Alli. If it's not in the squad, you know, there's always you get an Ornstein leaked team news 3 hours before kickoff. Oh, Dele Alli's not in the squad today, and then it becomes a whole story. Oh my God, Dele Alli's not in the squad. Should he be in the squad? All this drama, all this noise surrounding
to himself.
I know, but it becomes draining. And I think it negatively impacted sometimes him and the squad, all this talk, and the fan base. So I think it's very important we've got them for now anyway, especially Dele's permanently, but the other guys for now out of the squad, and that drama can. Huh?
All the other players were the same. Ndombele was the same as well. There was always a drama surrounding him.
Exactly.
Lo Celso, there was always a drama surrounding him. Dele, probably more to the extent than the other two. There's always a drama surrounding them. So I think all these drama players now are kind of out the door. We don't have any left, do we?
Yeah, I think everyone now is more committed to the cause of fighting for things for Tottenham, and I think that's the most important thing. So in terms of outgoings, to touch on Dele, I think it was the right move, and I think getting good money for him in the long term. Remember, we only paid $5 million for him anyway, so it's a player that was never gonna happen again at Tottenham. Unfortunately, that's just reality.
Yeah. So look, it's sad to see him go, but it definitely was about time that he did move on for his own good, for our own good, for everyone's own good, to be honest. And it's sad to see him go, but I think Tottenham got a good deal surrounding everything that has gone on the last 3 years. And yeah, it's sad to see him go, but I'm happy he has moved on at the end of the day. But let's move on to Tanguy Ndombele. Ndombele, obviously, it's a loan till the end of the season with an option to buy of 65 million euros. This one is also a very strange one. Drama seemed to surround him everywhere he went. Cast your mind back to the Amazon documentary when he had that meeting with Daniel Levy. Daniel Levy gave him a stern talking to.
You're a fighter like me.
A fighter.
Just like me, because when I was in school, They said I was dumb. No.
Someone's saying Sim's mic's a bit too loud. I'm not sure
Loud?
if it is or not, if you can have a listen and see. But yeah, with Tanguy Ndombele, again, right time for him to move on. Never seemed to really work out for him. There's no doubting the talent this guy has, as we said time and time again. Technical ability, probably second to none in his position in European football. I really believe that. But when you don't have the attitude, you don't have the desire, you don't have the will, unfortunately, you're not a top player. And that's what's happened. And whether he unearths it at another club, which I'm sure he will, because, with all the talent he has, he should be a top player within European football. He really should. But with what he showed at Tottenham, unfortunately, he's going to have to take a step back to make a step forward. And that step back is going back to the club that we did make a record transfer fee to Lyon. He has gone back there, and I do think it will work out for him. I think people will see, and people will start talking about him by the end of this season, because he will show what he's about. But unfortunately, I'm not sure if he's ever going to make it in England. But it's a shame. Another one that's a big shame, because we all saw the talent that he has. But when push came to shove, he had a problem, or that every manager seemed to have a problem with him, apart from Jose Mourinho, which he actually started having a problem with, and then he got to grips with Mourinho. And then once he had that kind of long stint in the team, Mourinho ultimately got sacked, and then we never saw him again really in a consistent basis, which was sad. But I think the deal we got is a really good deal again.
Yeah, considering Lyon paying a lot of his wages, and the option to buy is 65 million euros, which if we get anywhere near that, would be a fantastic deal considering how bad it's gone. In terms of Ndombele's time at Tottenham, obviously it's an unmitigated disaster, unfortunately, considering the money we paid for him and the quality he has and how much game time he's actually had on the pitch. But part of me feels for him, because he came to Tottenham off the back of a Champions League final under Mauricio Pochettino, known for playing attractive football, possession football, attacking football, and then he comes here. Pochettino even says himself it could take Ndombele 2 years to acclimatise to the Premier League, but unfortunately he comes to a side that's in decline. Pochettino gets sacked within a couple months of him arriving,
and apparently he was a big reason why he came here.
Yeah. And Pochettino was the one who really wanted him. I think we did see him as naturally, although as much as he isn't on that level, or people can argue he's a different player, I did think we saw him as a natural Dembele replacement. Yeah. I think that was clear. Yeah. That was how we were supposed to go. And he comes, and all of a sudden, after 2 months of him coming, we completely switch up our style of play. We completely change how we want to approach things. It's all of a sudden very deep, counter-attacking, different kind of football, and then isn't exactly clearly it's more as suited to him as maybe playing under Pochettino. I think if Pochettino would have stayed on till the end of that season, I think there's no doubt we would have. I'm not saying Ndombele would have fulfilled his potential, but there's no doubt we would have seen a better Ndombele sooner rather than later. It took him literally probably till September of the following year to start showing some form under Mourinho. First of all, he was playing in the cam role, and then moved a bit further back and was playing fairly well. But even under Mourinho at his best, there was still some undercurrent of that Mourinho didn't fully trust him. Like he always made comments, Mourinho, even when Ndombele was playing well, he said Ndombele has all the talent in the world, but he always leaves you wanting more. He always said that. He always leaves you with he can give more to the team, that he's not completely running his socks off.
Yeah. And Conte was never going to have that.
No, never. Obviously, even under Nuno, he didn't happen. And I just think it's a case of a player being mismanaged, and also a player himself not trying his hardest to make the situation work. And I think the two, I can understand why he's frustrated and maybe being mismanaged, but also understand the coaching staff, they have a player who isn't seeming to anyway give his everything to the cause to make this transfer work. It seems like he's already looking for exit doors. He tried to leave twice before we eventually got him out. It's always as if like he would rather, instead of fight to save his Tottenham career, he'd rather just cut his losses and leave. That's what it seemed, and that is not an attitude you want around the dressing room either, or in a team, especially when you're fighting for points and you want to fight for trophies and whatever. So I think it's best for everyone. But again, it's unfortunate that a player of supreme quality isn't going to fulfill his potential at Tottenham. Yeah. But it is what it is. Again, it was never going to happen here, especially how we were. You know, if in the summer, if we would have appointed someone like Ten Hag or something, or Potter even, I reckon that would have been better for Ndombele. But people like Conte and Mourinho and managers of that kind of ilk, whether Ndombele was ever the right fit for them, I don't know.
I think if he had the right attitude and the right desire and right commitment on the football pitch, it could have worked, in my opinion. It could have worked under any manager. The guy's got that much talent. I think he can work in pretty much... I think he could work in any system if he put his mind to it and if he put the effort and the desire in. And unfortunately, it wasn't the case. And this guy, he's so good. It's going to be one of those where you look back on 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, whatever it may be, and just look back on it and think like, wow, that guy, if only, you know, just one of those things where you look back and think about if only what could have been. And that's, Ndombele has that much talent where it's, you know, we're going to think about that for a long time, in my opinion, because of the talent he actually has. And I think he'll show it around Europe. I just don't think he'll show it in England.
You reckon he'll get a big move later in his career?
Yeah, I have no doubt about that. Whether he goes to a big club in Spain, I can see him going to a Barcelona or a Real Madrid. I can see him,
PSG.
Even PSG. I can see him going to any of these clubs and actually having a good career for himself.
Yeah, I also just have the feeling that Tottenham have a big part to play in why he didn't work out, as much as he himself has a probably bigger part to play in why he didn't work out.
Yeah. All right. So that's Tanguy Ndombele. Thumbs up or thumbs down?
Thumbs up.
Yeah, agreed. Giovani Lo Celso, he's gone to Villarreal on loan. I mean, the original reports when the deal was first coming out were saying there's an option to buy, but I haven't seen any talks of an option or any price being banded about or anything.
Yeah, it seems very quiet. I'm pretty sure Romano did say there's an option in the deal. So I think that is the case, but there's been no talk about how much it is or anything like that.
Because I think it was George Bannister that was talking on Twitter, and he was saying, all right, so 65 for Ndombele, 45 for Dele, and then whatever we can get for Lo Celso. There was no price banded out on it.
Maybe he's just, I don't know, kept under the radar. Like no one, there does seem to be an option, I'm pretty sure. But I don't know. I think there's no real, it doesn't really say no one's confirmed how much the option is.
Either way, he's gone on loan for 6 months. Whether there's an option or not, he's out the door for the rest of the season at least. And he's another player that I don't think he has as much talent as Ndombele, but he still has a supreme amount of talent. Giovani Lo Celso came into the team and really hit the ground running. He was one of our better players for the just before lockdown in those 2 months. Probably our best player at that period of time. Came back after the lockdown and just never really kicked on from there. And you always felt left wanting more again with Giovani Lo Celso, as you were with Ndombele. Again, you could see the talent that he had, but I don't know what it was with him. I mean, he kept getting injured, couldn't get him on the pitch as much as we wanted to. And then his performances, you just couldn't really back him up anymore as much as we were. And, you know, we kept being believers of Giovani Lo Celso. We kept saying, believe in this guy, give him a consistent run in the team and he'll provide the goods. But we could never get him on the pitch consistently, ever. Yeah,
and that was his biggest downfall, unfortunately. Again, another player bought under Pochettino.
In the same window.
Yeah, you would have thought Poch would have had a big say in getting him through the door. Again, he was probably a player who we thought could potentially be a successor to Eriksen. When he left, he didn't quite live up to that. Unfortunately, spent decent money on him as well. I remember when because we had an option to buy him, it wasn't an obligation. And I remember in that January there was like, are we going to activate it? But I think a lot of the Tottenham fans were definitely wanting to activate that clause in his contract
around that time.
Yeah, and I remember we sold Eriksen to Inter, and we confirmed Lo Celso like a few days later or a day later, and everyone was pretty happy with that at the time. But unfortunately, yeah, it was a weird one. He was playing really well in his first season, I thought, for especially in the second half of the season. I thought he played so well, but ever since then, he's just been dogged by injury, and unfortunately, especially this season, his performances have been lacking big time. But it's such an odd one because there was barely any talk of him leaving or anything like that. There wasn't much talk of him wanting out or Tottenham or the hierarchy not being happy with him. But all of a sudden, he was left out the game against Chelsea. And then all of a sudden, everything started to come out. Oh, Conte...
He tweeted straight away, didn't we? Or Instagrammed or whatever it was.
Yeah, he said, I'm fully fit. And then all of a sudden, when that happened, it's like, okay, maybe something is happening. Because he was actually being used by Conte up until that Chelsea game after he came back from injury, another injury. And when that happened, all of a sudden it came out Conte is starting to get tired with Lo Celso. Lo Celso isn't liked among the dressing room. And all of a sudden it became apparent that he is also going to leave in this January. And it's again another player who I feel like I don't think he can do. I don't know what as in he unless he's like being too precious with his injuries. I'm not sure he's as much to blame as someone like Ndombele is for this not working out. Again, I think he's even been more mismanaged than Ndombele when it comes to his position. He's been shoved to the wing more often than I would like. His best performances have always been central. I think when he's played centrally, he's been a lot better than he has been when he's played on the wing. But definitely of late, I think there has been a bit of an attitude change this season with Lo Celso, especially in the last few weeks when he has got on the pitch. Something's changed with him, because especially in some of his performances in the Conference League, they were absolutely pathetic. And I don't know whether him being unsettled at him or him not having it not worked out for a couple of years, it was starting to play on his mind, and it just I don't think it was a case of him not trying or anything, but I think it was a case of him just again needing a move because he was too unsettled at Tottenham. And then all of a sudden Conte wanted him out, even though a few weeks ago he was saying how much he likes Lo Celso and he thinks he's a good player and we need him. All of a sudden a few weeks later it's all changed. So it's one where I guess it's probably the best thing for everyone if Conte doesn't want him, for him to leave. But we're just left so short, aren't we? And difference is compared to Ndombele and Lo Celso. There wasn't much talk of Lo Celso looking to leave or anything like that before it all came out. Whereas Ndombele, we've known for a while he was wanted out. So whether we could have stuck with Lo Celso for 6 months just to have another option in the squad remains to be, I don't know, but it's probably best.
The fact of the matter is that he prefer Harvey White to be a fifth option than either Lo Celso, Ndombele or Dele says a lot to me. And I don't think that's a case of, well, it is a case of poor planning because we didn't bring anyone in, but I don't think it's a case of, we sold them and then we're only keeping Harvey White because of bad planning. I think it's literally he preferred Harvey White he wanted all these poisonous atmospheres out of the door and keep Harvey White as a fifth choice. And I think that says a lot to me in terms of what Conte was thinking of the squad. Yeah,
and I guess he'll have to be judged on that if he really wanted him out the door that badly. I just think again it's a shame for another player to be out the door without fulfilling his potential. And I think you could have found more of an excuse to keep Lo Celso than the other two, just for 6 months as another option. But if that's what Conte wanted, if Conte would rather Harvey White, then who am I to say that we should have kept him? So I just feel like
Harvey White was about to go on loan to League One.
Yeah. So I don't know. We'll see if that's. We'll see how that plays out. If we do get a few injuries and we do have to play Harvey White, we'll have to wait and see how that pans out, because I still think Lo Celso would have been a better option.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of a player to play, you can't compare. There's no comparison there, obviously. But Lo Celso obviously on loan with a potential option. It's got to be a thumbs up, doesn't it? Because if Conte wants him out, he wants him out.
I know, but then you can say that about anyone. I don't know. I feel like I'm not 100% convinced this is a good move just yet.
But if he wasn't showing the right attitude, then what's the point of having him around anyway?
But something seemed to switch very late on. Like, it didn't seem he was going on, and then all of a sudden, like he's leaving, like out of nowhere. I thought it was very strange. I think we should have kept him for the 6 months. That's just because looking at our squad. That's my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, if I think Conte only gets rid of him if he's a bad atmosphere in the dressing room. We heard that, he's not very liked within the squad and all that kind of stuff coming out on that day as well. So, I mean, if that's true and that's the case, he's a bad atmosphere around the squad and he's not providing well, and every time he did play, he didn't produce for the team, then what's the point of keeping him around?
I don't know. I think as I'd rather have Lo Celso as an option for the next 6 months than to be potentially left short and then sell him in the summer. That's what I'd rather than have them relying on Harvey White.
Yeah, I mean,
there's potential to maybe look. As I've said before, there's been other players cast out and then they come back in, and maybe there could have been potential for, like, rather than someone like Dele and Ndombele, we know that they wanted out. It's a bit different. Lo Celso, it was just very quick. Like, all of a sudden, he's shipped out, like, out of nowhere. I mean, obviously, it's out of nowhere for us. It might not be out of nowhere for everyone else, but I don't know. I feel like maybe, fair enough, that's what Conte decided. He didn't trust him. But I feel like if we would have got another one through the door, it'd be a thumbs up, but we didn't. So I feel like maybe one of those three we should have just kept for 6 months. And if that's the case, probably could have been Lo Celso.
Yeah, I mean, look, I understand what you're saying, but if he was this kind of poisonous atmosphere within the dressing room and not giving his all for the team, then I completely agree with it, to be honest. I really do. But the next one, Bryan Gil, obviously going on loan for the rest of the season. It was the first reports were saying 18 months. But it looks like it is just 6 months and he will be back the next season. Me personally, I'm not too happy with the loan. I mean, I'm happy that he has gone on loan, but I would have preferred him to go to an English club to get to grips with the English football and stuff like that for his physical attributes. I don't really see too much point of him going back to Spain, where we've seen how he can do, and the league is just so much less of a physical battle than it is in England, and that's what we need to get him up to speed with. So I'm happy with him to go on loan, but I just wasn't really that happy for him to go to Spain on loan.
I'm fine with it. I think, especially with Kulu coming in, I don't think there's going to be much game time for him second half of the season. So I'm happy with him going out on loan in general. In terms of him going back to Spain rather than say an English club, I don't think. I reckon there's probably no English clubs coming in for him right now. So what are we going to do? I doubt that he has an option of going to an English club right now while he's shown what he's shown in England. So I think Spain giving it going to a team like Valencia, getting more regular minutes, game time, and showing what. Even though we've seen what he can do in Spain, not to the fullest extent. Like, it's only been one season in Eibar. Just because he had a decent season doesn't mean he's fully developed his game and we've fully seen what he can do. It just means he's had a decent season. So I think that he needs to develop his game even more. And I think with regular game time in Spain, he can do it. So I'm pretty happy. If he is going to get regular game time with Valencia, I'm pretty happy with that. I think that's a good move.
Do you think he'll get regular game time there?
I hope so. I don't really know what the state of their squad is, but I hope so. They seem pretty happy with him, so I'm hoping he will. And maybe he has a good reputation in Spain because he has some caps, doesn't he, for Spain. So I would like to think he will, because they're not doing that great. They're like mid-table, so I'm pretty sure he'll get regular game minutes there. Or he'll start off anyway. We'll see if he can keep up some good form and keep his place.
So that's the outgoings: Lo Celso, Ndombele, Dele Alli, Bryan Gil. We have got rid of a lot of midfielders without bringing one in, which is definitely a down mark. But I'm happy that we have got the three out than we got out, looking like it will be for the foreseeable future in terms of Lo Celso, Ndombele and Ali. Gil, look, I guess I am happy that he has gone on loan, but like I said, I would have preferred him to go to an English club, but it's not the be-all and end-all, to be honest. So I'm happy he will be getting consistent minutes. So in terms of the outgoings, I was fairly happy with. In terms of the incomings now, Kulusevski, I'm happy with Kulusevski coming in. I'm a big fan of him. Spurs have been linked with him for quite a while now. He's a player that Conte wanted to bring in at Inter. He's a player that Paratici did bring in at Juventus. So it obviously insinuates that both of them really believe in him. And he's a young talent, won Serie A Young Player of the Year a couple years back. He's got immense quality about him in terms of his attacking talent, his work ethic on the pitch as well. So if he can bring that to Tottenham, then I think it's a very, very good signing for us.
Definitely. I definitely agree with that, and I'm excited by what he can bring to Tottenham. I think physically he's built for the Premier League. He's a strong lad. He's pretty tall as well. So I think as a physicality point of view, I think he could definitely be a very good, be ready for the Premier League more than someone like Gil, who just physically isn't there. He's pretty pacey as well. He's not like lightning pace, but he's like pretty quick. He's no slouch, that's for sure, on the right hand side. It's like, I would say he's a bit like, in terms of pace-wise, someone like Mahrez, who's quick. He's not like the quickest in the league, like Sterling or something, but he's still got quite a bit of pace. And I think Kulusevski is quite similar to that. I think he adds a position that we needed in the forward line. He's versatile, so he can play central, can play on the right. And I think he's a player that the management really definitely wanted, and I think he's got a lot of potential, and I think he's shown already that he can be a very good player at a top level in Serie A. So I think this could potentially be a very good signing for us, and I'm very happy with what he could potentially bring to Tottenham. And it could be a player where we're thinking in a few years' time, unbelievable signing, and what a bargain. I'm hoping that's the case, and I've got a feeling it will be. And I just can't wait to see him in a Tottenham shirt. And I really believe him on the right-hand side in a 3-4-3 with Son on the other side and Kane up front. With that bit, he adds a little bit of guile that maybe we're missing in the central areas to pick pockets in tight spaces, to like little through balls and stuff like that.
He's got that bit of finesse about him as well, doesn't he?
And one thing I've noticed as well, he's brilliant at those finesse shots into the far corner with his left foot.
I've watched those shots on repeat, the goals for Juventus that he scored like that. They look so sexy, man.
Yeah, the first touch shot bending into the far corner. He's very good at that. So I think it's a good signing.
And it's good for Mora to finally have some competition.
Yeah, exactly. And also gives us more options off the bench. If he starts, Mora's off the bench, or if Mora starts, he's off the bench. It's very good as well. He can also play in a 2 up top. So very good. And also the structure of the deal is pretty good in Tottenham's favour. 10 million euros for an 18th-month loan. So, and then if we really want him, it's an obligation if we get top 4 or if we plays over 50% of the games. But if he doesn't, then we can either take up the option or not for an extra 30 million. So I think the structure of the deal is pretty sound from a financial point of view. So very little downside. The only thing is you could say is unproven, has been off form, or hasn't really been impressive for Juventus over the past year or so. So that's all. That's the downside. But I think from what I've seen of him when I've watched him play, I've usually been impressed with him, and I quite like what I see. And he's got such a high ceiling as well. This guy could be a top European player in the future. He's only 21, so I'm very excited by what he can bring.
That's obviously a big thumbs up from us from Kulusevski. Rodrigo Bentancur is an interesting one. Obviously, I think it was 20 million signing, 25 million signing.
It's 20 million pounds. Yeah, if we're including add-ons, it'll be 20 million.
Okay, 20 million pounds including add-ons. Central midfielder, hard-working central midfielder, very similar to the mould of the midfielders that we already have. But I do think that he probably is a step up from what we do have. I haven't seen him too much, so I can't comment too much on him. But from what I've read, he does seem like very similar to what we have. He was obviously very central to Juventus over the past 3 years. He won trophies there at Juventus and was central to those teams. And what really is a bit kind of worrying is that how quickly the Juventus fans wanted to see the back of him, though. That was a bit annoying.
Yeah, but I also feel like Juventus, obviously, their expectations is challenging for titles every single season, challenging for Champions Leagues every single season, very, very high expectations. And Bentancur had been there since 2017, so that's 5 years now. And obviously, of late, Juventus themselves have stagnated as much as maybe he has. And what Giuseppe from Just Juve was saying is, he said that what Bentancur at this time, he's been here for 5 years now. They wanted him to be a leader in the centre of the park. They wanted him to take some responsibility and not just be relying on more important central midfielders next to him. They wanted him to be the next Pirlo or someone with a bit more authority on the pitch, and he never really became that for them, unfortunately. Maybe with a new voice, a new manager, that can happen at Tottenham. But in terms of quality-wise, I think we're definitely getting a midfielder who's probably ability-wise a bit above some of the midfielders we have at the moment. Probably, it's difficult to say whether he's above Skip, because I think Skip's 3 years younger, and I think Skip's performing at a very good level at the moment. But Bentancur as well was winning leagues at Juventus at that age. So I think at the moment he's comes with a bit of very experience, a lot of know-how in his role. Conte will know how to use him, and I think it's definitely a very good option for the centre mid, especially how Conte wants to play. Disappointing from the aspect of, I thought we needed a bit more ingenuity, a bit more quality in on the ball in central midfield as an option, which we didn't get. But clearly Conte was looking at it in a different way, and he very much relies on players who can play his system, and the system itself will create chances for the team, and that's what Conte believes. And Bentancur could definitely fill that role in the centre mid, and he's definitely going to be someone we can rely on. And so I'm happy with that. I wouldn't say I'm excited by him, but I'm definitely happy with him being part of the squad and being another midfield option.
In 3-4-3, who are your starting centre mids now?
In a 3-4-3, I reckon it for now it could be Højbjerg and Bentancur.
I was thinking that, and do you reckon this is gonna stifle Winks a little bit, bring in Bentancur?
Well, look, it's a squad game.
Not Winks, sorry, Skip. Did I say Skip?
You said Winks, yeah.
I meant Skip.
That's the worry. That is the worry, especially because Conte has relied on Højbjerg more than Skip so far, even though if you ask most of the fan base, a lot of them would say Skip's better, but I think definitely Højbjerg is the one who Conte prefers and relies on, and thinks is the one in centre mid that we need to rely on. And I think it depends how good he is, I guess. If he's that good and he's keeping Bentancur, he's keeping Skip out of the team week in, week out, then it does have that potential. Obviously, if you play three in the middle, then there's room for both of them. But if not, then Skip's got to have to up his game. But look, it's a good challenge for him, I think, to make sure he keeps developing and make sure he's pushing these guys every step of the way. The only problem is Bentancur and Højbjerg are not exactly old. They're 24 and 25, aren't they? Or 25 and 26. So they're not that old. So he might, if they really are better than him, he might not muscle his way into that first 11 for a couple of years, depending on what happens. But I think Conte does like Skip, so I think I'm sure he'll get adequate game time.
All right, so let's just round up the incomings and the outgoings. In terms of outgoings, I'm very happy with the business we did, and the outgoings got poisonous atmospheres out the dressing room, big wages out as well. And as well, if we can get 100 million for Dele and Ndombele, that is daylight robbery with what they've shown in the past couple of years. It really is
Definitely.
Absolute daylight robbery if we can get that kind of price for those two players. So I'm very happy with the outgoings. In terms of the incomings, I think we haven't done enough, to be honest. I think we're short in midfield. We're short up front with Harry Kane being our only recognised striker. We're lack of quality at right wing back, which was a big one for me, and left centre back as well. We're short with Ben Davies being the only one that can play there naturally. So I think we've left ourselves short. I would have been a lot happier if we would have just brought in a right wing back and nothing more else. I would have been a lot happier. But I can't rate this window higher than a 6 or 5.5 kind of thing for me.
Yeah, I think when I rate the windows, there's two ways of looking at it. Obviously, I'm rating the business that we've done and the specific deals, and then I'm rating where the squad is after the window compared to before the window. And in terms of business being done, I think I rate the business as probably, I would say, a 7 out of 10, because I think Dele out the door for potentially 4 million is pretty good. Lo Celso and Ndombele getting an outdoor is good, but they're only on options to buy, so nothing's guaranteed in that sense. But it's good to get them out the door for now. And Gil on loan to Spain is good, fairly good for him, but it's not a move to England. So if Gil got a move to England and Lo Celso and Ndombele both moved permanently, then I'm taking that to a maybe 8 or 9 out of 10. But because they're only options to buy and Gil went to Spain, it's probably about a 7 for me. That's how I, and obviously we Kulusevski and Bentancur. That's probably like a 7, isn't it? I wouldn't say it's any more than that. In terms of the state of the squad, it's about a 5, because for me, there are a few players where if they get injured, we're in big trouble. I think for me, there's like 5. There's about 4 or 5 players for me that if they get a long-term injury second half of the season, we're in big trouble. And those players for me is
Harry Kane, obviously.
Obviously, Harry Kane. If he gets a big injury, we're in big trouble.
Ben Davies.
Ben Davies, for me, if he gets a big injury, we're in big trouble. Obviously, if Dyer and Romero get a big injury, we'll be in trouble, but that's what happened first half season. I'm hoping they won't happen again. I think if Dyer, more than Davis, because he likes that central spot. I guess we could remove Romero centre and put Sanchez on the right. Might be okay. So I'd say if Dyer gets an injury, we're in big trouble, and if Emerson gets an injury, we're in big trouble. Everyone else,
some will argue we're in trouble anyway. We're just having Emerson.
True, but I think I'd be not much. Let's say if Doherty got like a season-ending injury, I'm much happier with relying on Emerson for every game than having to rely on Doherty for every game. All of a sudden, if we're relying on Doherty every game, then I'm like if we ever when we come up against City and Liverpool and these teams, I'm a lot happier with Emerson there than Doherty there in those kind of games. So if they get injuries, we're in very, very big trouble. I think everyone else, even if Son, now at this point in time, if Son gets a big injury, at least we have Bergwijn, Kulusevski and Lucas there that can cover. If Reguilon gets a big injury, there's Sessegnon who can cover. If Højbjerg gets a big injury, we now have Skip and Winks who can cover. So I think those positions we're okay. But there are too many positions where we're one big injury away from being in big trouble.
Left centre-back, striker and right wing-back is really where we're in trouble. And potentially centre-mid as well. Potentially, because we've only got 4.
Yeah, so I think we can get 1 big injury. But if we get 2, then but 1's okay. So I think that's too much to be relying on in the second half of the season for me. And as much as other teams are also heavily reliant on players not being injured. For example, if Arsenal have a centre-back injured or a striker injured, they're completely screwed. So I think we're not the only team in this position, but we shouldn't be thinking like that. We have to be thinking for ourselves. And as much as I'm happy with the business we did, I'm not happy with where the squad is at the moment. And following that, given how the squad is at the moment, let's move on to the next topic, I think.
Yeah, just before we do, I want to get through a few super chats.
Yeah, go on then.
The first one is, I can't see who it is because the name's blocked. Do you have it there? I can't see the name.
One sec.
But he says
Sunla 32.
It says more outgoings than incomings for the second window straight, so we shouldn't need to sell players before bringing in players this summer. Surely this means we can do business early in the summer. And if Ndombele and Lo Celso do end up leaving on permanent deals in the summer, I mean, that's a bulk of the rebuild in terms of getting players out done and a lot of big wages out, and it should enable us to be able to spend big money in the summer. It really should.
That's the thing. Yes and no, because I think it's too early to start talking about this window, meaning that we have a straight shot incomings in the summer. I think it's a bit too early to say that because we don't know what's going to happen in the next 6 months. As I've said, it's not an obligation to buy; it's an option to buy. Yeah, look, if they sign, great, but it's too early to know if they're going to sign. They literally signed yesterday, so we don't know. Like they both could get an injury and then they're ruled out for the 6 months, and then they don't take up the option.
What else is good is though we had multiple teams going in for these players.
What it signals, which is good, is that we're willing to cut our losses with them. That's the signal. That these moves say that we're willing to go second half season even short as long as they're out the door, which implies that we're willing to just take losses and willing to get rid of them at all costs. So that's good, I guess, in that sense that we'll probably will get rid of them in the summer. But even if they do come back, we'll probably get rid of them in summer anyway. But still, it's very early to say that that because they've got options to buy, that they're now gone and that's it. And we don't have to think about selling them because it might become in the sum that we still do.
Yeah. Akash Nair, welcome to Silver, brand new member, and welcome to the family. Great to have you. Crocodox with the super chat saying, whilst the quality of player transfers can be argued, Conte has absolutely prioritised a mentality shift this window. Without a winning mentality, any star brought in can become an Ndombele or a Giovani Lo Celso. And I kind of agree with that. And that's kind of what I was insinuating a bit when I was talking about Giovani Lo Celso. That getting rid of these players is mainly for the mentality against like kind of quality within the squad.
Yeah, true. And I think that's probably that was the big aim. It just came very quickly with the Celso, the whole Celso thing. It was just very odd for me that.
So it's better like that. It's better like that for them to rumble on for years like it did with Ndombele and Dele.
Yeah, of course. I mean, if that's the best for everyone, that's the best for everyone. I just thought maybe we could have got another 6 months out of him rather than leaving ourselves short. That's all I'm saying. But if it was really that bad that he had to go, like it was with Ndombele and Dele, then yeah, we were right. But I don't know.
I doubt he would have pushed him out like that if it wasn't that bad.
I don't know. Yeah, I guess you'd have to think that. That's the only conclusion you can make, I guess, that it was that bad. But it didn't seem to be in terms of injuries and stuff like that. It did seem to be that bad. But his relationship with the coach and all that kind of stuff, it didn't seem that bad. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, it became that bad. It didn't seem great, but it didn't seem like it was so bad that he had to get him out of the door at all costs. And then all of a sudden, it did become like that. So I just thought it was very odd. But yeah, look, I guess that's it.
Conte hasn't been here for that long. Sometimes it shows time to show true colours and show what you're really about, and and to get to grips with each other and on a personal basis. So maybe that's what happened there.
But it's just, I'm saying, when we went into January, it seemed like definitely like Dele and Ndombele at the beginning of Jan, we were going into that window knowing, okay, these two we definitely want to get out. Like we're going to sell. We're going to try our best to sell. But there was no we weren't hearing about Lo Celso up until only at the end of the window. And then all of a sudden it all came out, we're going to get rid of him. He's going to go here, there. It's like, oh, okay, wow, we do want to get rid of him really badly.
All right. Juve Piero 99 says, guys, I'm actually listening in surprise. I think you guys need to set expectations lower for Kulu and Benta. There is a reason why we sold them.
Look, I think when it comes to players from elite clubs like Barcelona, Real Madrid, Juventus, Bayern Munich, they have very, very high expectations, very high. So when a player like Kulusevski comes in and he doesn't hit the ground running immediately, a lot of the times it's easy for fans of those clubs to get on their back and want them out because their expectations are winning leagues. So when you're winning leagues, you literally need your forward players to be on form like every game pretty much and like scoring goals consistently. You've got to remember Kulusevski's 21 years of age. Just because he didn't quite make it at Juventus this time round doesn't mean for me that all of a sudden he's not a very good player. But obviously this guy's probably seen a lot more than Kulu than I have, so he probably has. He's probably better to say it, but I've seen so many players fail at these big clubs and become great players. Like it's happened so many times.
For Juventus alone.
Yeah.
Juventus alone. Look, Kingsley Coman. There was, I can't remember off the top of my head, but there's been loads of them that have gone out of Juventus and made careers for themselves elsewhere.
Yeah, really loads. Has. So for me, it doesn't unless it doesn't ring like alarm bells for me that he didn't quite make it at Juventus. And when it comes to Bentancur, he was instrumental at Juventus only a couple of years ago. I know maybe the last couple of years they haven't been that happy with him, but he was starting regularly for a team that was winning titles and everything. So I think he's a good player. Other managers seem to. He was under Allegri first time round. He really liked him and stuff, and he was under Sarri. So under Sarri, he was a great player. So I don't just because he hasn't had a great year and for one reason or another. Doesn't take away what he's shown he can do.
And someone in here in the comments makes a great point. What's his name? Thierry Henry at Juventus didn't really cut it, and he ended up being one of the best players in the world. So look, it happens time and time again, not even just at Juventus, but all over. Some players just don't suit a current team, you know what I mean? And then they go and kind of produce it elsewhere. But the next super chat is from Jay Taylor saying, how can people judge them already when it's a completely different league? Doesn't make sense. A lot of negativity. Trust in Conte, wasn't it?
Trust in Conte. Yes and no. I think obviously we do trust in Conte. I think that's why we got all these players out the door. We wouldn't do that if we didn't. But did we really push the boat out as much as we could have to get this squad up to scratch as much as it should be for the second half of the season? I've got question marks on that.
Well, I guess time will tell. And the last super chat is from David Sankvist saying, top 4, us or United? Well, it's between us two. I mean, it's very hard to say.
Yeah,
get it.
But United let go of Martial, let go of Van den Beek, and let go of obviously and Greenwood's not involved in the moment. So those are 3 players in their attacking. In the attacking end of the pitch, who they're not going to be able to use now, pretty much for the second half of the season. So I think they're slightly weaker there. But then, yeah. So I think we have the upper hand here, especially with the manager.
Bless me.
As I said in a WhatsApp group, when you go to squad difference between Tottenham, Arsenal, and United, you probably go United, Tottenham, Arsenal in terms of level of squad. I think the level of squad is only marginal difference. I don't think it's that much difference in terms of the quality of squad where it makes where.
Who are you talking about between all 3 of us?
Yeah, I think Arsenal lagging way behind, but I think between us and United, because I think our first teams are quite similar, they probably have a deeper squad. But I don't think if you're rating the squads out of 10, if like ours is a 7, theirs is an 8 or something like that, like it's only marginal.
And again, they've got more games to play than us because they're still in the Champions League, and we've got more games to play than Arsenal because we're still in the FA Cup.
But my point is, the squad difference quality is marginal, but the manager difference is not marginal. It's very we've got a far better manager than anyone else in the race. So that's what I'm hoping could make the difference in the second half of the season.
I do think it's between us and United now. I can't see Arsenal rallying past this week.
I was amazed to find out that Lacazette only has 3 goals this season. I was amazed. I thought he was on more than that, and that's what they're relying on now, second half of the season.
I don't know why you were amazed.
So I just thought he was on at least 6 or something. So because they're what I'm amazed, they just sold their top goals. Well, they just sold Aubameyang.
They didn't sell him. They let him go for free.
And they've got no other striker but Lacazette and Nketiah going second half of the season.
And both of them have 6 months left in their contract.
Yeah, so it's very. It's crazy. It's crazy.
I don't know what they're smoking at the Emirates.
It's mad. And yeah, they've like Aubameyang. I know. Of late, it's gone really, really sour for him. But if you look back to midway through the season, he was starting for them and scoring goals. He wasn't doing that bad for them. And then it obviously went all bad, went sour. But they've now, because they've gotten rid of him, there's no chance of him getting reintegrated into the team like Tevez or like other players. Even for example, if I take a Tottenham for example, Pavlyuchenko. Remember, he was frozen out for ages. And then we did, but he just stuck around because we didn't sell him.
Champions League that year.
And yeah, and he got reintegrated out of nowhere. I think we had injuries or something. He just got reintegrated out of nowhere, and then he started banging goals. But now because Arsenal sold him, that's it. They don't have that potential. So if it doesn't go right for Lacazette or Nketiah, or if they get an injury, what are they going to do? They're going to have to play false nine or something. I don't know. Is Martinelli ready to play number 9?
Arteta is way too inexperienced for this, man. He's way too inexperienced for this. Arsenal need a fully seasoned manager that knows what he's doing properly, in terms of discipline, in terms of the way they structure the team throughout the season. I think Arteta and Edu as well, both of them are way too inexperienced, and it's showing. Arteta keeps falling out with these players, keeps banishing them.
But it's strange because it's almost as if they've now thrown the towel in on this season.
Yeah.
Which all of us, like a few weeks ago, they're looking good for top 4, and looks like Arsenal could actually spring a surprise this season. But now with this transfer window, it seems like they're already planning for next season. They've thrown in the towel for this season. It's very strange. Yeah. It's really weird. And but what I think is actually quite good from a Tottenham point of view is it kind of, I think even if they finish now 7th or 8th, I think they still keep Arteta, because I think it gives him an excuse as to why things didn't go well. And I think the narrative for Arsenal now is going to be, well, the true project is going to be in the summer because of all the outgoings.
Even though he's been there for 2.5 years.
Exactly.
Now.
I think that narrative is now going to be there because, we didn't have a striker second half of the season. We're planning for next season. Arsenal always bloody planning for next season. That's all they do. Which is why I don't like the narrative right now with Tottenham saying, it's going to be the summer. The summer's going to be the big one and all this stuff.
It's completely different.
Planning for the summer.
Different. Conte has just come in mid-season.
Yeah, that's true.
And Arteta's been there for 2.5 years. They're 2.5 years into a project. We've had 2 managers this season.
I agree, but our project is very much dependent on us getting Champions League now. I don't think there's any point of us saying the summer's going to be the big one. If we don't get Champions League now, then that heavily affects what happens in the summer. Yeah. So why I just don't like when I'm here when I understand January is difficult, but I don't like when I'm hearing, it's fine that we didn't get. It's fine that we're short now because in the summer we're going to go big, and summer's going to be the big one. It's like, well,
but I still think we've left ourselves in a really good position to make top 4 this year.
I think we've left ourselves in a decent position. I wouldn't say really good, decent. I would say.
Well,
we're still risking a lot of things. We are risking.
Yeah, we are risking things for not bringing in a right back and stuff like that. But you yourself just said that we've got a similar level of squad to United, and it's the manager who's going to make the difference.
Correct. But imagine if we had a level squad or better squad. We're not going to have a better squad than United this season. But I think in terms of, as I said before, there are too many players where if they get one big injury, we are so short, and then all of a sudden you'll hear it from Conte. We need these important players. They're injured. We need important players if you want to have an important team. You'll hear all that stuff. As long as we stay relatively injury free to those key players, we're probably going to be okay, I think, for top 4. But if we don't, we're risking it. You've
got to remember, it is only pretty much a game a week now for the rest of the season, barring these. The games that we've got in hand. Apart from that, it's pretty much one game a week for the rest of the season. FA Cup falls on a weekend, so that takes away a Premier League game. So it is literally a game a week. So that's
correct. Imagine if we were in the Conference League. Yeah, I'm very happy we're not in Conference League.
If we were in the Conference League, it would have been a lot more difficult, and I think we probably would have pushed the boat out and got a couple more signings in. But in terms of us from now until the end of the season, yes, it's not ideal, and I would have liked a few more signings in terms of right back, striker, another midfielder potentially. But I do think we're in a very good position for the top 4 this year. I do think it's between just 2 clubs now in terms of the state of their squads. And I think we've got a really good position, man. I really do.
Yeah, I think we're in a good position, but we could have really solidified it with maybe one more signing. I think we could have really become nailed on. I don't think we're nailed on now. But we're how much
one's nailed on.
How much improved is our position for top 4 now than it was before the window? Maybe slightly improved, if anything, if it has improved.
Also, you never know what kind of an impact and how poisonous these players were. You never know how much of an impact that can have within the dressing room. That could be a massive plus for us if they were as poisonous as people were insinuating.
But under Conte, there hasn't been that element. I don't think's been the case for poison in the dressing room. Maybe under Nuno and stuff, that was a big factor. But
yeah, but it could have easily crept in at any time.
Yeah, but we weren't seeing that affect the team.
Because Conte hasn't been here for that long. We've seen when managers come, maybe Nuno aside, we've seen how it all goes a bit rosy at the start, and then all the poisonous atmospheres repeat themselves and bring themselves up again. Obviously, we hadn't seen that under Conte yet, but it could have easily happened from now until the end of the season. Easily.
I don't know about that. Maybe. Yeah, look, it can happen, but it would have happened very early. But also, you've got to remember these players. I'm not saying we shouldn't have sold them. I'm happy we got rid of them if that's what Conte wanted. I'm just not happy that we didn't get maybe another one. If we're going to sell 4 in one window, especially 3 midfielders, you have to get at least 2 in to make sure.
And that's why I've given them a 6 out of 10.
Exactly, that's what I'm saying, and that's why we've left some risk.
When you're comparing our transfer windows to Arsenal's and to Man United's,
correct,
we've done better than them.
Of course we have. I'm not disagreeing with that at all. But the thing, I was just saying, have we improved our chances of getting top 4 with this window?
Yeah, I think we have.
Well, let's go into the next topic.
Okay, the next topic is: has Conte been backed? It's a very broad question. I mean, how do you...
If we set up the premise, I mean, we can put a poll out on the chat, see what people think, and we'll discuss it. Has Conte been backed this window? So first of all, what does it mean for Conte to be backed? I guess it means, has he got... I guess from before the window, what would it mean to you to say Conte's being backed this window, but before the window started?
Before the window, get the players out he wants out and bring positions in that we heavily needed.
Yeah,
that's for me.
Were you as focused on outgoings as incomings before the window started?
I was focused on, I mean, in terms of Ndombele and Dele, yes. Lo Celso, not really, but I agree with what he's done with Lo Celso. So yeah, I think I was. I mean, obviously, you're always going to focus more on incomings, but outgoings was always in my mind, yeah.
Yeah, and I think from that point of view, obviously, the club have definitely listened to him, and clearly this is what has happened. But before the window started, we all wanted a right wing back. We all wanted a striker, although we did get Kulusevski, which I think could probably fill in that role for 6 months. I'm happy with that. I personally wanted a centre back, even though we have a few at the moment because we didn't sell Rodon or Tanganga. I still think we needed a good quality centre back in case Davis gets injured. And maybe a creative midfielder. I guess it depends what Conte wanted as to if he's been backed or not. But he's definitely been backed when it comes to outgoings. He's clearly been listened to, hasn't he? We've got them out the door. We've got even at a loss or even for not a lot of money, Ndombele, Lo Celso, Dele, all out the door. Where maybe if Paratici or Conte weren't here, Levy might still be hanging on to them like he has done before. But is this when you look at the quality of the squad, you look at the squad now to how it was before the window opened. Has it improved? Probably you could say slightly, but I wouldn't say it's massively improved. If you take
attitude and application and mentality out of it, our squad has decreased in level. It has, because you're taking out quality players like Ndombele, Lo Celso, and Dele Alli, and you're bringing in only 2 players, and you're not bringing enough midfielders to cover the midfielders that have left. So if you're looking at that sense, we've got weaker. But if you're looking at in a sense of how positively it is to get these bad apples out, then I think that we've improved our chances. I really do.
But does Conte now have the tools that we all wanted him to have?
No.
So from that aspect, has he been backed?
He's been backed to a certain extent, but he's not been fully backed.
Fully, #back Conte, all this kind of stuff. Has that been fulfilled?
Never going to be able to fully back him this window. That was never going to happen.
No, but you could give him at least. We thought that maybe he needed. He could have. I think we could have done more though than we did.
Of course, we could have done more, but we could never have filled every single hole in this squad that we needed to.
No, but why not? We couldn't. You're right, but we didn't. We didn't target the weakest ones, the weakest holes, and that is the biggest disappointment.
Yeah, it is a disappointment, and that's why we're not giving this window a high rating at the end of the day, because he hasn't been fully backed. Nobody knows the ins and outs of what's actually happened and who we've actually tried to bring in and what the reasons why people haven't come in, and we're never going to know that probably. But in terms of the players we've brought in two good level of players, which I'm happy that we've brought in. The one key area for me that I keep repeating myself, and I'll keep repeating myself, is right wing back. If we've brought in a competent right wing back that are a lot better than what we've got now, I would have been very happy with this window. And that's the one position where I think we're massively lacking in terms of quality.
I am still worried about centre mid, because as much as I'm happy with Skip, Winks, Bentancur and Højbjerg, and I'm fine with them, I don't have a problem with those four options. I think they're all good players. I think they're all going to go do well in Conte's system. What I'm worried about is in games where we are being stifled, we are teams are frustrating us, and we need more creative options from deep. What are we going to do if we need someone like like an Eriksen or Ruben Neves or whatever, someone who can go pick up the ball from deep and create something from those kind of aspects, and even move the ball, even like in games where we don't need two defensive mids basically. Sometimes what are we going to do? Is it a case of that's just what we got to the summer now? Do we have an option in the squad who can maybe come deep and be a bit of a creator if we need be late in a game? Also, for example, against Leicester, right, where it's 2-1 to Leicester, right, and what does Conte do? He takes off Harry Winks and he puts on Lo Celso and puts Lo Celso centre mid. Look, I'm not saying Lo Celso did well or it was great. I'm just saying even Conte in that situation realised, okay, in this situation we don't need two defensive mids. We're going to have a bit of a creator, put him there, and hopefully that can lead to us creating more chances, opening up Leicester. And we only have one. Take some risks to the game, only have one defensive mid, and then all of a sudden it creates more problems for the opposition. Do we have that option now to do that in the second half of the season with a player? Are we always going to have two defensive mids now every game? We're going to be forced to.
Yeah,
and that's a problem.
It is a problem. It is the problem. But I just felt the right wing back was more of a problem. I felt like we can potentially get away with the central midfield partners that we have right now from now until the end of the season. Yes, there's nowhere near enough creativity in there, and that's spot on. But I think that Winks has done a good role in terms of his progressive passing since he's come back into the team. I think Bentancur can provide that to the team as well. And I think Skip as well has been a lot better since Conte has come in and foraging into the opposition half and creating some chances and getting some shots off and stuff like that. So I don't think it's as bad as people are saying. And our XG is, since Conte has come in, has gone up massively. We're out XGing every single team. So on that basis, we should be beating a lot of the teams that we're playing against. And the only teams that we're really struggling against in terms of getting results are the big teams in the league.
Correct.
So against all the other teams, I think we should be fine with what we've got in terms of a creative standpoint from the middle of the park. Where we've been lacking massively since Conte has come in my opinion, is that right wing-back role. And that's just my opinion. And I think that's why it was most important to get that right wing-back in that central midfielder.
These guys, these centre mids are going to have to take a bit more responsibility than they have in terms of moving forward now. Because I do fear since Conte's come in, I do think they have started doing that anyway. But it's going to be even more so because there's no one else to rely on now. It's them or bust. So,
and also, I think Kulu can have a bit of role to play in that situation. I think if we are struggling late in the game and he's on the bench, or even if he's starting, you can bring on a Lucas Moura, or you can bring on a Kulu and put Kulu a bit deeper because he has played that role before.
Yeah. So I mean, that's. No, I think you're right there. I like Kulu be a bit central, although I don't like him too deep. I don't know how effective he is too deep.
No, I'm not saying to play him there regularly, but I'm saying in the last 20 minutes, half an hour, 15 minutes when we need a goal and we're pushing,
Mate,
you can bring on a Lucas Moura and drop him a bit deeper.
Be interesting to see if he ever does that. I don't know if has he ever played actual centre mid?
I think he's played there, not many times, but he has played there, yeah.
Interesting. That'll be a good option then, I guess, if Kulu can do that. But yeah, I just don't know whether the question's difficult to answer because I think in terms of outgoings, he's been backed, but in terms of the squad we have, I won't.
It just depends what you classify as backed.
Yeah.
That's what it means. I mean, I think he has been backed to a certain extent, but he's not been fully backed. But I never expected him to be fully backed this window.
But is the squad, like, has he got what he needs to compete?
Well,
still not. Well, I guess he does.
When you say that we can make top 4, then clearly he does.
Yeah, I think we can make top 4, but we could have made top 4 before the window.
Yeah, but I still think we could give us a bit of a better chance with Kulu coming in, with Bentancur coming in, and the players that have come out hardly played any minutes. Let's be honest.
Yeah, no, it's true, and I think that was the right option to get rid of them.
So you're bringing 2 players that can play consistently in a lot of minutes, and you're taking out players who've hardly played any minutes.
All right. Yeah. No, it's true. So, I guess from that point of view, that's good. That's positive stuff in terms of the deals we've done. But in terms of what squad we have left, are we leaving ourselves too short? Potentially, anyway. We could still potentially leaving ourselves too short.
Yeah, of course, because of the positions that we don't have. But
for example, we don't make top 4. You know, does Conte have an excuse or not? Or he hasn't been backed?
I think he has an excuse, but not because he hasn't been backed. I think because of what the state of the squad he walked into at. I think that's the excuse there. It's likely that we don't make top 4, but again, it's also likely that we do. It's a weird one. No one expected him to be fully backed in this window. Let's be honest. It's a January transfer window. Yes, I know people say it's very hard to do business in January, which I completely said, no, it's not. You can do business in January. But to do a whole rebuild, to get a right back in, to get another central mid in, to get another striker in, to get another centre back in, we're never going to do all of that in this one window. And that's the honest truth of it all. And I think we do have enough to make top 4.
But okay, let's say, for example, right, understand that. No, you're right. I didn't expect a full rebuild. But, for example, if we sold Matt Doherty, right, and we didn't bring in another right wing back, right, and we just left ourselves with just Emerson, is that a good deal? Just because is that good? Is that a good thing to do?
Is that a good thing to do?
Yeah.
Selling Doherty and leaving us with nothing?
And just leaving us with one right wing back?
No, it's not.
Isn't that what we've done in centre mid, in a way?
No, because we've got 4.
We have 4, but we're still leaving ourselves very short.
Yeah. But the fact of the matter is, Matt Doherty, as much as no one wants to hear it, has shown more in the last couple of games he's played than Lo Celso has. And Lo Celso has since Conte has come in.
But I'm saying in a few other positions, it's kind of I feel
but
you've
got to look at the personnel that we got out the door, and the personnel that got out the door were toxic atmospheres that weren't producing anything for us on the football pitch. You can argue Matt Doherty as well hasn't produced anything for us on the football pitch, but at least he's shown in the last couple of games will, desire, and he's actually working for the team. And actually at that Leicester game, he was very important to making stuff happen.
No, he was in that one game. Yeah. I just feel like there are too many risks that we've left ourselves open for. And obviously I wanted to bring in 1 or 2, but that by the by.
Right, because you're spot on.
Of course we have. I'm just worried. I'm worried that something's going to go wrong, and we've left ourselves open to something going wrong. That's the problem.
Of course we have. But at the end of the day, what would you have done? The only thing you would have done is kept Lo Celso. What else would you have done?
And signed another player, yeah. Signed.
I think with our current business, if we brought in a right wing back, I would have been more than happy with that. But because we haven't, and we have left ourselves short in other areas, I'm not overly pleased with this window.
Yeah. So if you're not overly pleased, can you say Conte's been backed?
I told you, he's been backed to a certain extent, but not fully.
Okay. Back to a certain extent, but not fully. So,
yeah.
What percentage would you say he's been backed?
50%.
50% backed.
Yeah.
Is that does that count then?
What do you mean? Does that count?
I don't know. Like he's been backed 50%.
Yeah, he's been half backed.
So should we be happy with that?
Well, we're 6 out of 10 happy. You're 5 out of 10 happy, which is 50%.
Yeah. Yeah, but is that Is that acceptable?
We're not happy. We're both saying that.
But is it acceptable? Should we be protesting?
Should we be protesting? No, I don't think so.
We shouldn't be protesting.
No.
So it is
I think
acceptable.
that we've still. It is just a tad above the line of acceptable. Borderline unacceptable. 50-50.
But if the fact of the matter is, if Kane does get a big injury, right, we're gonna be back on complaining about the board again, aren't we? Let's be honest.
If what? Sorry.
If Kane gets a big injury, we're gonna get back on the board's back. We're gonna start saying Levy out again.
If Kane gets injured, you can put a Bergwijn or Son there like we always have done. Well, especially with Son, and every time Kane has got injured and Son's been playing there, he's actually done quite well, and it hasn't really hurt us that much, apart from when we had Jose, when Son got injured too.
Yeah, that's not my point. I'm saying if he does get a big injury, or if Davis gets a big injury, like
certain people will, certain people will.
I'm just saying, and all of a sudden results start slipping a bit because of those injuries. If that does happen, the board will come under a lot of flack.
Yeah, it will. They will, and rightly so, because we haven't fully backed Conte.
Correct, and that's all I'm saying. So has he really? I don't know. If at the moment, the poll is has Conte been backed? 4 minutes gone, 435 votes of the poll so far. You go to the chat and you can go and put your opinions down. At the moment, has Conte been backed? Yes, is up 61%.
I don't think
it's 39%.
I don't think it's as black and white as that question.
Well, that's how we do. It's
not
football YouTube. We have to be black and white. That's
not the case, though. It's not black and white, though.
Has to be black and white. But how can you do a poll that's not black and white?
How? You can do 3 options.
Well, we're only doing yes and no.
Well, there you go. But I'm just saying, no matter what the poll is, I'm not talking about the poll. I'm talking about the broad question. Has Conte been backed?
Fair enough.
It's not a yes or no answer.
Fair enough. I take that point. But in terms of the poll, I guess you could argue it's more yes than no.
Yeah,
more no than yes. That's what you put.
Yeah, you can sway more to one side. That's for sure. And I sway slightly more to look. I think it's very, very in the middle. I really do. I don't think it's either a yes or a no. I mean, I'm at 6 out of 10 thinking about the window, so I'm slightly more happy than I am unhappy. And when you're thinking about it, you're completely in the middle.
Yeah, I'm 5 out of 10, pretty much. Yeah,
so that says all you need to know, really.
Yeah, I agree. So obviously. Everything is always not black and white in football. Is not as simple as that. Even when a player's not playing well, it's never always just black and white. He's rubbish and that kind of stuff. There's always a lot of the time different factors. But when you boil it down to a black and white question, it's interesting to see what people think. At the moment, 62% say yes, 38% say no. Get your votes in. Have we backed Conte as a board, as a club? What do we think going into the second half of the season? Does he have the tools to make top 4? Or have we left him short? I want to know what people's opinions are at the moment. Let's read through some super chats then, as we will go on to the next section in a minute. Where are we? Skinny Fat Huey. Have we read that one?
I'm not sure.
He's back. He's been backed, got rid of prima donnas and brought in Conte players, 2 hard-working team players. I agree. A right wing back would be a handy, but c'est la vie.
The first one we hadn't read was Stephen Crisis's one.
Sorry. Which was New Chant. I don't know what the tune is. Do you know the tune?
Look, forget that chant. The new chant for Kulusevski is Kulu, 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 Kulusevski. That's the new chant.
Well, what's this chant? Kulu, Dejan Kulu, Kulusevski, Sevski Kulu.
Maybe it's Kulu, Dejan Kulu.
Kulusevski,
Sevski, Kulu.
It's not that. I don't know what tune that is. Anyone got any idea? Dejan Kulusevski. Dejan Kulusevski. No, I don't know.
All right. Well, if you know the tune, let us know what the tune is.
Nasser M. Al-Qadi says, "Hi lads, I haven't been able to tune in for a while, sending it out of love, and I agree we're not completely nailed down just yet. We need a right back and a centre forward." Yeah, I completely agree with that. Mm-hmm. Stefan Blois, I don't know. Would rather buy the big target in the summer, more quality, lower prices, and a pre-season. Don't underestimate that. It's never going to be down in one window. I agree with that. You get better deals in the summer. Unfortunately, we've left ourselves in a position where we did need some big deals in January to make sure we get top four. Well, we could now have a very good chance of top four, but to make sure we get top four, we could have done with the 1 or 2 big deals this window. And I hate when football clubs always talk about later, project later, not now, because I feel like it takes away responsibility from the club to be in a position now to be as strong as they could be. And that's why I don't always I understand sometimes it is a project. And like, for example, when we had, when Pochettino came in, and we were just on the back of Sherwood and 2 years of AVB, I understand, it's a project and everything. And he's a manager who builds things and he takes time to build things and he improves players, and he's a project manager. Whereas Conte, he's just a different kind of manager. He's very used to coming in, and signing some players and getting immediate results. So obviously, I'm not. Maybe he can be a project manager, but he needs now, as soon as possible, the right tools, as opposed to something just building for the long term.
How many more signings did you really expect us to make?
1 or 2.
4 signings, yeah.
Especially if we're selling 4.
The thing is, though, if we're going for a right back, we're going for a left centre back, and you've got certain targets available in January, but you've got much better targets waiting for us in the summer that we can target. What do you go for?
Depends, yeah, I guess. It depends. Depends what the targets are, I guess. It depends how much better the target is in the summer. Mm-hmm. If it's that much better, then yeah, you wait. But if it's not that much difference, then get him now. But yeah, I don't know. It just doesn't seem like we had a plan this window, to be honest. Apart from getting rid of players, that's the thing.
That's what it felt like. That was a big job, getting rid of these players. We've been trying to get rid of at least Dele for ages. Ndombele has been making these murmurings for ages. No one's come in for him or been interested in him. These players, it's a big job getting these players out the door.
No, fair enough, and we did that. But we can't just get rid of players and then not have replacements. That's kind of what we've done.
Yeah.
Plutus says we're acting as if if there are viable options, talent for right wing back in January. There wasn't. Royale will play more defensively and Kulu attacking on the right. And yeah, I mean, that's what we're going to have to do in the second half of the season. But again, it's Conte having to adjust because of the deficiencies in the squad. And that, I guess, and that's what he gets paid for. But when we talk about back Conte, did we talk about him adjusting to what the squad was? That's why we wanted him backed, in a way. So that's what I'm annoyed about. But yeah, look, it doesn't mean it's all lost, because I do think Emerson isn't as bad a player as a lot of people making him out to be, as much as he needs improvement. I don't think he's this massive dud who we should just give up on immediately. Monin Singh says, I'll reserve my judgment after the summer window. I mean, you say that, but if we're finishing 8th, you're going to get judged now. Let's be honest. So you won't. You're going to judge now. You're not going to reserve your judgment until after the summer window. Josh Short, just with a heart emoji, big up to you. And Fernando Guregas says, if Lo Celso and Tanguy leave definitely in the summer, should we buy a Cam type player? Yep, definitely.
Yeah,
100%.
Of course we should. If them two do leave in the summer, we definitely need to buy in a proper creative midfielder from the centre. That's for sure. Yeah,
exactly. So I'm just saying, if we don't get top 4 because of some of the because we didn't get a couple more signings, then you can judge it now. It's not about judging it waiting until the summer. This is the time is now when Conte's at the helm.
Yeah, the time is always now. But like I said, we couldn't have done to a full extent what Conte would have wanted, and it's much easier to do that in the summer, and it's much harder to prize top talent away from the teams that they're playing for at the current moment in time. Obviously, there are cases where you can do it, obviously, but it's much harder.
Yeah, I don't doubt that. I don't doubt it's harder, but we're unfortunately we're in this position because of the board. So it has to put pressure on them to get things right now.
Yeah, I agree with that.
All right. Let's look at...
1 second. Chris Angobar just says a super chat with nothing, but thank you so much for the support, my friend. Thank you so much.
Okay, so yesterday was deadline day, obviously, and there was a lot of talk on social media about people's opinions on how things went on deadline day. And there was a lot of reaction on social media and on Twitter to how things were going on deadline day. So we have picked some. Oh, 1 sec. Sorry. Give me 1 second. Oh God, is it not working? 1 sec. Just put the camera on. Oh, there you go. Yeah. There you go. It should be working now. All right. So we have picked out some reactions. If you want anything else you want us to react to from Twitter, which you think could be worth reacting to, tag us at WeAreTottenhamTV on Twitter and we'll react to it. I've got some stuff that I think we should react to. And let's bring that up. All right. First thing. Okay, let's go. So we're going to be looking at some tweets from Twitter and some reaction to deadline day and how we've been left to the state of play. So let's see what people have to say. This is from the Extra Inch, which I think for me perfectly summed up. Like I couldn't think of a more perfect summation of the window. If I read what they wrote a paragraph to BBC, it says, to the question, have Spurs squad needs been addressed? This is from Nathan Clark, who I'm a big fan of on Twitter. He says, Director of Football Fabio Paratici has used his contacts at and knowledge of Juventus to bring in 2 quality players who are significantly undervalued by the market. That's great, but what does this do for our lack of cover at centre-back? How does this improve our creativity on the right flank? How will this decrease our burden of minutes of Harry Kane's ankles? This deals-orientated approach to the market is something we became used to under Daniel Levy, when Daniel Levy assumed the role, and it does have its upsides, of course, but we thought it would be different now that we have a real director to address the needs of the squad. And yeah, that's exactly how I feel. I feel like this window under Fabio, maybe outgoings has improved, but in terms of how we've dealt with incomings, nothing really has changed.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's spot on. I think word for word, that's actually absolutely spot on, to be honest. And I can't really put it better myself. We've left ourselves short in certain areas of the pitch. The way we're conducting our deals haven't really changed at all. Waiting for the last minute, arguing over every single little penny that's going out of this club hasn't changed. It stinks of Daniel Levy. But on the flip side of all that, I still think we've put ourselves in a very good chance for top 4.
Yeah, I agree with that. We do have a good chance at top 4.
Big up, Bob.
Oh, that's Bob Spur TV. He's obviously tweeting from his hospital bed. He is making a recovery. He says, despite being in hospital and having a life-threatening operation, I'm still tuned in to check out the news and see if Spurs can pull off anything. Lastminute.com.
Bobby Singh. He's
Fortunately, we couldn't do it for him, but there you go. This was a thread from Lewis Thompson. He said, so this transfer window, Spurs needed a striker, cam, right wing back, centre back. Kulusevski can potentially play at a 10, and Bentancur has been brought in to replace Lo Celso, Ndombele and Dele. We've also lost Gil from the first team squad, whilst John, Makema, Kande and Clark have left from the youth. So we've saved 200 grand plus 100 grand plus 70 grand plus 40k, 410k per week in the first team squad, whilst Bentancur and Kulusevski earn 75 and 110. Although he's saying they earn that much. So Kulusevski's on 110 and Bentancur's on 75. We'll potentially earn up to...
That's fact, though,
that's what he's claiming. I don't know how he's getting those numbers. We will potentially earn up to... Maybe he's basing on what they were earning before. We'll potentially earn up to 40 million from the Dele deal, potentially 60 million from a Ndombele, and whatever we can get for Lo Celso. We've paid 10 million for the loan of DK Kulusevski, potentially paying 35 million, 17 million for Bentancur, although altogether we have saved 225k a week, as well as potentially 70 million in transfer fees, whilst not strengthening right wing back and striker or centre back. Surely we as fans and Conte can't be happy with this. Oh, so he's quit. I thought he was. Oh, sorry, I misread it the first time. But he's saying, surely we can't be happy with the business we've done. What do you think? With the window in general?
I mean, look,
there's 5 out of. If you're saying it's 6 out of 10, does that mean you means you're content with the squad, not happy, not angry?
I'm content, but I'm also slightly disappointed. If that makes sense.
But isn't it a case of as well? Like, we've had 6 out of 10 windows before, haven't we? And then we kind of say, oh, that's okay.
We've also had 8 windows before when we brought in Ndombele, Lo Celso.
Like, for example, the window in the summer, we will probably say that. Didn't we say that was like a 6 or something out of 10?
Can't remember what we said in the summer, but I remember when we had Ndombele, Lo Celso and all them, we were raving about that window, and it ended up being an awful window.
I remember on deadline day, you weren't actually that happy.
What, with the Ndombele deal?
No, not with the deal. No, not with the deal. With the window overall.
I mean. Oh, really?
Yeah, you weren't. No, you weren't.
Why wasn't I happy?
I was more positive about it than you were, if I remember rightly. I remember we were on we were doing a deadline day stream. I actually think we were doing it in the office over there, if I remember rightly. And you were saying, I can't remember exactly. I don't remember exactly. Maybe someone can find it, but I'm pretty sure. I remember you weren't as happy as I was with that window.
I don't remember that whatsoever, but if you say so.
All right, that's what Lewis Thompson has to say. Let's keep going with some more tweets. Martin Samuel wrote a article in the Daily Mail saying this idea of Levy running rings around his rivals is pure fantasy.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah,
100%. It used to be the case maybe 10 years ago, but the guy's out of touch now.
Someone quote tweeted the article saying Spurs chief Daniel Levy's reputation as a wily transfer operator is utter fantasy. He has failed to land a big signing in the past 6 years and was outfoxed on Diaz, and Traore. Conte needs to be backed and needs a chairman to trust him.
Let's wait a second here. I'm all for bashing Daniel Levy, 100%. I'm a massive, anti-Levy person. I am. But when you're saying stuff that isn't true, then it doesn't back up our points, because he has been able to bring in big signings. Romero in the summer is a big signing. Kulusevski, in my opinion, is a big signing. Yes, they haven't come often enough, but to say he hasn't been able to land any big signings is completely not true.
Is Kulusevski a big signing?
I think he is, yeah. I think he is. When you're looking at an up-and-coming... Okay, fine, he's not a ready-made player waiting to come in, but when you're talking about an up-and-coming player coming into the league who's a top talent, Serie A Young Player of the Year, Christian Romero was Defender of the Year in Serie A, Ndombele, when we signed him, was one of the most sought-after young players coming through the ranks as well. Mm-hmm. Giovani Lo Celso also was a big signing at the time. So to say we don't bring in any big signings is completely false. Yeah,
we have brought in some big signings. That's true. No, yeah, I'm absolutely right. I think he has landed some, but a lot of the ones that we also really wanted have also gone by the wayside, haven't they?
Yeah, of course they have. But just because a lot have gone, let's be honest, a lot have gone by the wayside, it doesn't mean he never gets in the big signings.
Yeah, I would say to say he hasn't landed. I guess if you're saying big signing, you're saying monetarily wise, and not in terms of big signing for the team.
Yeah, when I say big signing, I'm talking about
money.
No, not money. I'm talking about personnel-wise. If they're a big player to come in, like with a lot of scope to improve and big stature. Mm. And I think Ndombele had that stature. I think Lo Celso had it to a certain extent. I think Romero most definitely have it, and I think Kulusevski has it to a certain extent as well.
Fair enough. That's 4 in how many years?
4 years.
4 in 4 years.
Yeah.
There's Tottenham saying thank you to Dele Alli for.
Don't forget goodbye. He landed Bale last year as well.
On a year loan. Yeah, he did.
And yeah,
true. Well, let's see. One sec. I've got some replies. So we did a poll yesterday. I replied to that tweet saying, am I happy with the business done? Yes. Am I happy with the squad we have left? No. You can think both things. Philip Reed says the squad has been streamlined, but being pragmatic now, there are only 18 league games to play, plus hopefully a handful of cup games. Barring injuries, we have cover in all positions. But that's the whole point, is you have cover for injuries. So you can't say barring injuries we have cover. That doesn't make too much sense. But I understand what you're saying, because we do a lot of there are a lot of positions we do have cover, in my opinion. I think the defensive mid position we have cover. Obviously we don't have any other type of midfielders, but defensive midfield we have cover. I think on the wing, on the attacking midfield positions in the 2 number 10s or the wingers, we have cover. Left wing back we have cover. I think right centre back, you can argue we have cover. Right/centre back, if one of them gets injured, we have cover because Sanchez can come in, but if both get injured, we kind of don't have cover. And that's it. But striker, right wing back, left centre back, if they get injured, we are kind of screwed. And if we are forced to play Tanganga or Rodon at centre back, you could argue that's also not very good. Matt Gower says, I think it's a good window. We have got rid of players that simply don't want to be there, and that would have had an effect on the squad. Would like to have got more, but to sign players in January, always difficult. I do think the boys we have signed have potential and at good prices.
Yeah, and I kind of feel similar, that apart from that, it being a good window, I would say it's been an okay window. I'm very happy with the guys that we got out. I'm happy with the guys that we got in, but yeah, we could have done a bit more with bringing a few more in.
Definitely. The Wellman Sam says, feel like we got halfway through a list of jobs. I think we expected some parts to wait until the summer.
Not even halfway through.
We can hold some hope in that we have 2 signings that Conte wants and are definitely good players, plus Romero and Son coming back. Yeah, true. It's easy to forget Romero played 1 league game under Conte. That was Everton, and the Everton said he's been injured.
That's mad.
So that is something to remember in terms of improving our defensive options. Son's been out for a bit, although I thought, apart from the Chelsea games, we coped fairly well without him. So that was okay. Look at that for 1 sec from Cody Mack. Tottenham Hotspur for life. I can't read the rest of his tweet. He says, people gotten rid of Toby. So Alderweireld, Aurier, Sissoko, Lamela, Lo Celso, Ndombele and Dele. Paratici has been ruthless in getting rid of players, not hoarding, cleaning up the atmosphere at the club. And I think definitely he's been tasked with that, hasn't he? Paratici, of getting rid of a lot of the players a lot of people felt was stale, and all that kind of stuff, and bringing in some fresh blood. He's definitely getting rid of the stale players. Here is a poll we put on yesterday. At the moment, it's on 2,967 votes, which is very close to 3,000 votes. And it has 4 hours and 15 minutes left. The poll was, with Spurs signing Kulusevski and Bentancur, whilst letting go of Dele and Ndombele, Gil and Lo Celso, which is exactly what we did yesterday. There was no more, no less. Is the Spurs squad now stronger than before the window opened? 44% said, I was currently saying stronger, 30% are saying weaker, and 26% saying unchanged. So there's one way of saying it. The majority is strongest winning, but the other way of thinking about it is 56% of saying it's either weaker or unchanged. So there's 2 ways you can read the poll if you want to read it that way.
Where do you sit in that one?
Where do I sit on that one? I'll probably say unchanged.
Unchanged.
Yeah, unchanged.
I'm not sure.
Probably so. If it's stronger, it's only by a few percentage points, I'd say.
Yeah, I probably agree with you there.
Nothing short of an absolute delight. Go and smash it, Dele Alli. That was from Talking Actually, and what a picture! I'll never forget that picture. Dele Alli at
there in that
Bridge.
Stadium. What a day that was, man!
Just look at those Chelsea. Look at that piss being boiled there. Unbelievable. Never forget that.
That day was incredible. And when Dele gave us so many great moments, man. So many great moments. You remember being in that away end when we beat Arsenal out of the cup and he dinked it over the keeper and gave Arsenal that stick. I mean, there were so many moments. Shithousery between Arsenal time and time again. Big moments, that Crystal Palace goal, Real Madrid game. I mean, there were just so many moments that, you know, some that are not even coming into my head. What a few years he had with us, man.
Definitely. Tanguy Ndombele's Tottenham career by numbers: 92 games, 10 goals, 9 assists. He cost Tottenham 2.8 million per goal involvement.
Bloody hell.
Well, yeah, unfortunately wasn't. He didn't even play 100 games, which is really not that much. Jack Pitbrook assessed the window, and this is what he had to say. It's a little short thread. He says, how do we assess Spurs' window overall? Obviously, they failed to get their first priority, which was a right wing back, but they did get another player for the front three and another centre mid. It's easy to dismiss the fact Paratici had to go back to Juventus for 2 squad players, but I think Kulusevski and Bentancur, both very good players, and Spurs will be better off for having them. Maybe the big story in the end was Spurs successfully moving on Dele Ndombele, Lo Celso and Gil, which was not something I was expecting at the start of the month. As Dan Kilpatrick said yesterday, Spurs have been bad at moving players on in recent years, so this felt like a change. You could argue that the 4 outs are on aggregate better than the 2 signings, and that maybe the squad is smaller/weaker as a result, maybe. But these players are only useful insofar as they are useful to Conte, and those 4 only made 3 Premier League starts between them under Conte. So perhaps with Spurs out of Europe, they're better off with a smaller squad rather than having players around who Conte doesn't believe in. But there's no getting past the fact that they spent 3/4 of the window chasing Traore and still don't have a new right wing back. It's Emerson or Doherty for the second half of the season, unless they want to convert Bergwijn ? And yet again, there's no obvious plan B if Kane gets injured. So where does that leave Spurs for the second half of the season? I think they've done fine in the circumstances, but I don't think they're obviously more likely to get 4th now than they were before. What do you think?
The only reason...
pretty much that last part, yeah. Are we more likely to get 4th now than we were before?
The only reason I think we're more likely to get 4th now than we were at the beginning of the window is because of the state of our competitors. That's the only reason, in my opinion.
Yeah, I guess even if you say our position is unchanged, you could argue our competitors are weaker. So that makes us more likely.
Exactly.
But yeah, it's a good thread. Ben Pearce says, odd day seeing an entire midfield quartet depart, while it makes sense to shift frustrating underperforming players, all of them in the middle of a tight top 4 fight seems a risk and a big gamble on 2 new boys. Hard to say confidently Spurs have strengthened.
Yeah, I can definitely see that side of the argument, but at the end of the day, if these players are not adding anything, they're playing poorly the majority of times they're playing, and Conte doesn't believe in them and their attitude's not right, it might be just better to cut our losses, even if it is all of them.
Fair enough. There's Dejan Kulusevski cracking his knuckles, ready to get down to work for Tottenham Hotspur. Absolutely brilliant stuff. We're looking forward to seeing him in the Tottenham shirt. Here's an interesting one. The question from Matthew THFC here is Dele Alli a Tottenham legend in your opinion? And then Danny Kiriakou quote tweeting it saying, definitely not. It's a disgrace to call Dele Alli a legend. He's not a Kane or a Son or Lloris. Dele had 2 to 3 good seasons and we didn't win any trophies. His last 3 years have been nothing short of a disgrace to the Spurs badge, in my opinion. Hero at times, but glad the toxicity is gone. Is Dele a Tottenham legend?
No, unfortunately not. I think Danny is bang on the money with that one. I think he's being a bit too harsh in the way he's saying it, but I think he's bang on the money. I think that if he would have carried on the form of his first 2 years for his whole reign at Tottenham, obviously we wouldn't even be thinking about selling him right now, and he would be on his way to becoming a Tottenham legend. But you can't call someone a legend for... I think you might be able to call them a legend for 2 good years, and if they're only here for 2 years.
Because you don't want to rule out Klinsmann and Ginola, do you?
Exactly.
You speak very carefully how you word this, Ben. Treading on very thin.
You saw how I worded it, and I worded it with that definitely in mind. But you can't call someone a legend if they've had those 2 good years and they follow it up with 3 bad years. You can't, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But I think what he says there, that Dele has been a hero at times, that's definitely true.
Yeah, unfortunately, Yeah, legend. I don't know if you can go down as a legend.
The thing is, legend. The term legend gets banded about way too often these days in football. Way too often.
Would you attend a Dele Alli Legends night?
Yes.
There you go. January arrivals of the top 4 contenders: Man United 0 on 38 points, West Ham 0 on 37 points, Arsenal 0 on 36 points, and Tottenham, Bentancur and Kulusevski 36 points, and Wolves, Chiquinho and 34 points. Is it advantage Tottenham?
I mean, that is so misleading because it doesn't say about the outgoings.
But is it advantage Tottenham based on the incomings?
I mean, yeah, but you have to take the outgoings into consideration as well.
But I think it's even more advantage.
I think we've all been saying. I don't think we're in a race with Arsenal and West Ham. I think it's between us and Man United. And in terms of the business that we've both done this January transfer window, I wouldn't say it's advantage Tottenham in the transfer race, but it has put us on a bit closer to them in terms of who's more likely to get it.
Okay, I agree with that. And then finally, we got guards 40-40. This is, I think, looking at Paratici ever since he came to Tottenham. He said, employ Nuno, who got sacked, wanted Gattuso, signed Gil for 25 million plus Lamela, loaned him out. Bought Emerson, who doesn't fit the system, although he did at the time. Bought Galini, bought Romero, which is actually decent business. Signed Juve unwanted stock. Squad weaker than when the window began. Dele out on a free transfer. Doesn't look great. Paratici has been coming in for a lot of criticism, hasn't he, this window? Do you think a lot of it's warranted?
I was actually going to say before about Paratici, because he's getting a lot of slack for going over to Juventus and picking up fringe players from Juventus, which they're not fringe players, let's be honest, especially Bentancur. Do you think that he would have come up from the same slack for picking up similar ilk of players from Real Madrid where he doesn't have those links?
No, he wouldn't. Imagine you've got, like, say, I know it's maybe different, but like Isco's, he's been out in the cold in Madrid.
So the only reason
you could call him a bench warmer, but he's like a good player.
The only reason he's getting flack is because he used to work for Juventus.
Correct.
So that doesn't sit right with me.
No, I don't criticise him at all for that. I do think some of business maybe coming back to bite us a bit in terms of maybe, like, I think Gil, as much as I believe he could be a good player for us, and I'm not saying we should never have signed him, but 25 million plus Melo now looking pretty steep at this point, let's be honest.
Agreed.
Emerson for 25 million, I would say at the time it really seemed like a decent deal. I still think under Nuno, when he's playing a right back, he wasn't bad. Right wing back, he's taking time to develop, hasn't been great. But let's be honest, if it wasn't Emerson, it either would have been no one or could have been Tomiyasu. But let's be honest, would Tomiyasu be a right wing back?
If Tomiyasu was in our squad right now, he'd play right centre back.
Exactly. So we still wouldn't have a right wing back. If Tomiyasu played right wing back, he'd probably look just as bad as Emerson.
Yeah, and if the summer transfer dealings were with Conte, we would never have gone for Emerson.
No. In terms of Galini, yeah, he's not looking great, but he's a backup keeper, so whatever.
Sarr, you don't really know right now.
Sarr, we don't really know.
And Romero obviously was brilliant signing.
Yeah, he's a good signing.
Again, he hasn't.
The top two employed Nuno, who got sacked. Yes, but I think he was just. I reckon for me, Fabio. First of all, he wanted Conte, right? First of all, didn't he? He approached and he wanted. I don't know if he wanted Fonseca, but he wanted Conte originally. I'm just saying he wanted Conte originally, and that I doubt it was his fault that deal broke down initially. So I think when Nuno got appointed, the club were under so much pressure just to get someone in. Like, he just seemed the easy option, I think, at the time, which obviously was an absolute disaster.
And you've got to remember, he came in bang in the middle of the fast call manager search, Paratici. He wasn't there for the whole 75 days or whatever it was he? I mean, Daniel Levy started this crazy search for so long, and Paratici basically got called, all right, come in and sort this out for us. Mm-hmm. And that was his first job.
Wanting Gattuso was pretty worrying, to be fair.
Yeah, it was worrying.
That was pretty worrying, but obviously we didn't get him in the end. So that's true. Squad weaker than when the window began. I think in terms of numbers it is. In terms of quality, in terms of...
In terms of quality it is as well, but in terms of mentality,
Yeah, in terms of players playing that Conte
players that want to be here.
Yeah, that's not true. And Dele free transfer, like, it's not. I mean, it is technically, but it's not.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's all completely accurate, but it makes one or two good points.
People like to put stuff out just to suit their own narratives. You know what I mean? Like Dele free transfer.
Yeah, it's not, I mean, technically it is, but it's not.
Yeah. A free transfer, which we can also gain 40 million off.
Someone tagged us, John Schuster, saying, "Am I the?" on David Ellis' tweet, he said, "Am I the only one on this platform absolutely convinced the dirty work has been done, and we are going big in the summer, or have I lost it?" And this is a graphic. Total net spend this window. Have we earned 20 million this window? Have we? How does that make sense?
No, we haven't. How? How have we earned 20 million this window?
It says here, and how
we haven't brought in any money.
It says here, City have earned 41. Who does City sell? What's going on here? Who did City sell this window?
No one. Who did they sell?
Anyone in the comments? Who did City sell? Am I going mad? And how did we earn 20?
Oh, Ferran Torres.
Okay, Ferran Torres. Fair enough. Okay, that makes sense. And they only signed Alvarez. How did we earn?
What, did they sell Ferran Torres for?
Yeah, big money, yeah.
Was it big money? How much was it?
45, I think.
It's 45, but that says they've made 40 million. And they signed Alvarez for 20 million.
Yeah, but that's maybe delayed.
Right.
Oh, no. How much was Ferran? It was quite a bit. Whatever. That probably makes sense. It was like in euros, so it's hard to...
Okay.
Tottenham making 20 million. How does that make sense? I guess if you say Dele is 40 million... Right, let's say if Dele's 40, if that's what they're saying, and then Kulusevski is technically a loan for 10, and Bentancur is 15, so that's 25. That kind of makes 20 million in a way.
Yeah, again, but it's just like putting numbers together to suit a narrative again when it's not really the
Edwards.
case.
Someone said you put Edwards in there as well.
We got 7.5 million.
7.5 million. So I guess if you put all that together, that kind of makes 20 million in a way. If you stretch it that way.
Yeah. But then if you're putting the Dele money in there, I don't know, man. It's just it's all a bit too much.
Yeah.
Let's move on.
Cody tagged us in something. What was it? Cody Mack. I'll read your tweet. What have you thought? He tagged us in his own tweet. All right. There you go. So the caller, the cheese room, he asked the same question we asked. Did we back Conte this window? And Cody Mack replied, reducing wage bill is not backing, removing poor attitudes is not backing, not replacing players moved is not backing, not addressing clear needs is not backing, buying 2 squad players is not backing, negative spend is not backing, rivals not spending is not backing. So from that point of view, have we not backed Conte then? That's what he's claiming.
Look,
I mean, I think he does make some good points.
He does make some good points.
What I would say is removing poor attitudes, and I think that is backing Conte because we've done it before. Where, for example, under Mourinho, he wanted Dele gone, and we didn't, right? Because we were so insistent on keeping him. That was not backing Mourinho.
Backing your manager is listening to what he says and following through on these requests. I have no doubt in my mind some of his requests were to get these players out the door. But some of his requests were to get certain positions in through the door. That's why I keep saying that he hasn't been fully backed, but he has been backed to a certain extent.
Yeah, he's been backed to a certain extent, but he probably needed a bit more.
He did need a bit more, and he hasn't been backed anywhere near enough probably that he would have liked to have been backed.
Yeah. Although Ali Gold claims he's content. So whatever that means.
Content is not over the moon though, is it?
I don't think Conte lives in does content. He's either 100 0 to 100%
or 0.
Someone tagged us, THSC Bro tagged us, we are Tottenham TV. What are your thoughts on this? This thread makes a lot of sense. How long is this thread? There's only a few tweets. Let's go for it. Addressing window concerns. Number 1, we need a striker. Yes, but none of the quality Conte requires were available this month. Bergwijn, Son and Kulu all provide coverage until the summer. I think you can make a decent case for that. But if Kane does, I think that's a good case for if Kane needs a rest. But it's not a good case if Kane gets injured. I think if Kane,
I think Son can be.
But he said he doesn't like Son up front.
I know he says that, but he's done a job there quite well before for us.
He has, yeah. But I think Bergwijn's going to be the guy, not Son. Anyway, we need a centre back, yes, but Romero, Return, and Jaffet will suffice until the summer. Jaffet, will he survive until the summer though? Jaffet again. If it's a case of rotation, if Jaffet comes in for a game here or there, then yeah. But if it's a case of if we get an injury and he has to play every game, for example, if Davis gets a long-term injury and Jaffet is playing every game, that becomes a problem, I think.
Do you think if Davis is the only guy injured, Jaffet's the one that comes in?
Unless we move Romero left and put Sanchez in.
Yeah, you can put Romero left and put Sanchez in. Sanchez back to the left.
Yeah, I guess I'm not. Yeah, I think the thing is, I think Jaffet is more comfortable on the left than Sanchez is, but obviously Sanchez is a much better player.
You could even move like Romero into the centre and put Dyer on the left or something.
Yeah, I don't think he'll do that. I think he likes Dyer.
I know he likes him there, but when you got injuries, and you need to make it work.
Yeah, but I don't think he does that. I don't think he shuffles.
But there are different options that you can do. It's not just putting in Jaffet Tanganga as the only option. There are different options there.
I guess.
What I'm saying.
I guess it was interesting to see how he deals with that. We need a creative midfielder. No, we don't. Conte's 3-4-3 relies on 2 all-action pillars in midfield, with the creativity primarily coming from wing-backs. Well, then leads on to the next point. We need a right wing-back. Yes, yes, but unable to shift Doherty, and homegrown options not available this window can address in the summer. 5 out and 2 in, we are weaker. No, we are not. While 5 bodies are out the door, they are players that we would not feature under Conte. These are players and dressing room influences Conte clearly wanted out. 2 players brought in will feature regularly. That's a fairly good point, but it is a lot of pressure on them, as someone else said. January window equals bolster team with 1 or 2 signings, not revamp whole squad, fill multiple holes. January market is all about domino effect, with aversion to selling players while clubs fighting for European spots, trophies. Calmer summer window is where most business will get done. So that's
we'll
this
see
thread.
About that, won't we?
I think he makes some good points, but also he does make some good points, to be fair. But you can't say this paragraph here. You can't say we don't need a creative midfielder because we get creativity from the wings, and then say, oh well, we can get a right wing back. Then you have to get a creative midfielder, or you get. You can't just have it both ways.
Both, to be fair.
Yeah. Anyway, fairly decent thread though. Someone else tagged us in something. Most completed passes into the final third this season. Højbjerg is 7th in the league.
Scroll up because you can't see on the screen.
Sorry.
Oh right, yeah.
Højbjerg is 7th in the league for passes into the final third this season. Maybe there's someone suggesting underrated, and he did it against Leicester. I thought he was doing some really good passes into the box as well, which got us a couple of goals late on. But yeah, I mean, Højbjerg of late has been recent. He makes some decent passes into the final third, but whether they're good passes, that's one.
So does Skip as well.
So does Skip, yeah.
And I'm hoping Bentancur will as well.
Amir Rishami says, do you agree Dele was peaked too early?
Well, that's what it seems like.
It's hard to say. Cameron says, I don't think Man United not spending put us in a better position than them. I do think that we'll finish top 4 above them. However, all they've done is move players that they're not using right now, Donny, Diallo, and not brought in anyone. You say that, but Martial came off the bench quite a lot, and I don't know whether he did well or not, but he was being used even in his last game. Okay, he wasn't doing well, but he was still being used. Greenwood was definitely being used, so they have been weaker. If they didn't bring anyone in,
they've got players out that probably made more impact than we got players out in.
Who their forward options now? Without Van der Beek, Greenwood, and Martial, they've got Rashford, they've got Sancho, Ronaldo, Cavani.
To be fair, Martial hardly played this season, man. Hardly, literally 2 minutes.
But in January
2 minutes
he did.
Here, 2 minutes there.
In January he played a bit.
Nah, he played 9 minutes in the
last game.
Yeah, and that's it.
Yeah, but if you think about forward options, right? If you got Rashford on the left with Martial coming in, all of a sudden without that you just have Rashford, and so it could leave them open if Rashford picks up an injury.
You got to remember Elanga's coming good now as well.
Yeah, but he's 18.
Starting. Yeah, I know, but he's still producing good football. He's playing well.
He's not going to get them top 4.
But he's been playing better than Martial and influencing them.
He's played a couple of games. It's too early.
Cavani, Elanga, Rashford, Ronaldo, and Sancho.
Yeah,
it's good options.
It's good options. You've got 2 sub, but
and as well, they didn't get rid of Jesse Lingard as well.
Lingard's there as well. Yeah.
Bruno Fernandes.
Who's got better options, us or United?
United got more of them anyway.
You'd rather if you
ask me to swap their forward options for our forward options, what is it? All the players I just mentioned in return for
Kane, Son, Bergwijn, Lucas and Kulusevski. Or Sancho, Rashford, Ronaldo, Cavani and Lingard.
I'll take ours, I think, actually.
I think Kane and Son just make that difference, don't they?
Yeah. I'll take ours, I think, but I don't think there's too much in it.
I think Rashford and Sancho are obviously better than Bergwijn and Lucas and probably Kulusevski. But Kane and Son, I'll take Kane and Son right now over any of those
Ronaldo
players.
and Cavani.
Of any of those players. Sancho, Rashford, I'll take Kane and Son right now over there.
Yeah.
All right, I think that's it for Twitter for now. But yeah, that was Twitter reacting to deadline day and Tottenham's transfer window.
All right, so that was good. Let's move on now and let's start bringing on some guests. Who have we got on first? Well, some of our guests have gone. Maybe the next one.
Move on. Who's after that?
Let's bring on the Jorical. Sorry, Jory, but I really am going to pop out for 1 sec.
Yeah, you've guys been going on for
Jory.
quite a while.
I can't hear you very well. Sorry, it's the TV volume. 1 sec. There you go. Hey, how are you doing, Jory, today? You all right?
Yeah, I'm good. How about you?
Yeah, we're doing okay. We're just trying to piece together what we're thinking about this transfer window. We asked a question in the comments here. Has Conte been backed this window? At the moment, 57% say yes, 43% say no. This is 1,500 people voting at the moment. What's your opinion?
I mean, in that poll, I had to go with a yes. But actually, Sim, I would like to, I work in movies and so on. So I have a quick 30 script for this transfer window. So I want to go through how
Please.
I think it went. So now after the fact, kind of deducing what we end up with here. I think the main plan going into the window, the very top priority was to get Adama in as our main wingback option. And I think the second priority was to start the clear out and rearrange the midfield. In terms of the midfield also, you were talking about that it's been, we haven't had these problems so much since Conte came in. I would beg to differ in terms of it hasn't been as bad as we've seen it under other managers, but we still saw Spursy elements creep in, especially in the midfield. I feel so I can see how that became a priority, a high priority to kind of start that going. Also, I'll go into that later. I'll finish my script here. Yeah. So with that Adama thing being the first priority, once that fell through on the 20th day, Antonio Conte went absolutely mental and went looking for Levy to be able to strangle him because Levy messed that up, So in a panic and in an effort to save his own life, he told Paratici, do something to make him happy, do anything, And Paratici got on to every agent in Europe and found an opportunity with Diaz and they started work on that right away. Diaz, of course, was never really fully upfront with his intentions. I'm sure he would have come if Liverpool wouldn't have pounced, but it was mostly to get a reaction out of Liverpool, I think. Which Ben also, I think we've talked about that before that. After that event, Paratici got to do his job. Levy got out of the way. Paratici then turned to the second on the list, which was to clear the midfield, to get in options that can hold the midfield the last part of the season, but options that are also gonna be viable for the future project. So these two guys, they're gonna stay in the squad, is my bet. I mean, you never know, but they're very likely candidates to stay in the squad, you know. And of course, Bentancur has been a mainstay in Juve already, you know, and we've all been talking about the potential of Kulusevski and so on. So that's basically end of story for me now. Like, I do believe they were really working hard to get a third in yesterday, but like you pointed out so many times, Sim, since they fucked it up so royally, or Levy fucked up the finances of that deal. That deal was ready from the first day. It was just the finances that kept it off the books, you know. So that was all Levy, you know. My hope, because when I'm kind of like analyzing how it went after Adama, I feel like Conte and Paratici didn't have interference for that. That actually went really well. I would have wanted to have more and whatever, but I'm also super happy that we're not fixing these last couple of months with in a way that's going to become a problem in the summer. Somebody that's going to be difficult to get out with, or we don't want to stick around in the summer. We've now cleared a lot of wages off our books. That's going to go into the hopefully spend category. I mean, we know how Levy is, but like that's what should be now ticking in the spend category. These guys are keepers most likely. They're not. What can I like that? Like even though I love, like I really rate Gil. I really think there's something for the future there. But Gil is at this point in time, he's better suited for the Spanish league. He's a small guy, he needs to bulk up a little bit, but he just needs to mature in general, you know. And then I'm sure we have a gem on our hands there. Who else, you know? In terms of just these signings that we got out, like Lo Celso and stuff like that, it might not have been too deep thinking about what the needs of that, or what needs Lo Celso was supposed to fill, you know. And the same with Ndombele, you might say. Once Potts was gone, it really came down to a lot of mismanagement as well, you know. So but now I'm super happy that, because now, like, if you ever bought a house, you know, you know how stressful it is to have the liability and the mortgage, but still have to go out and buy one. Like, which one to do first is really, really difficult often. But if you get your things sold, you can go in so strong buying. You know, you can really be all in when it comes to your buying. And we also have to realize that we're going into maybe the biggest free agent summer maybe ever, you know, because of COVID and stuff. A lot of players have not gotten extensions that they would have gotten otherwise, you know. So we're going in a strong position to the favorite kind of market that like the kind of market that Paratici absolutely loves dealing in, you know. So from the project point of view, I actually kind of rate this as a success this window. From a personnel point of view, we're scraping it very thin in terms of securing that top 4 point, top 4 spot. But I mean, I'm kind of confident because these guys are going to come in and be all work. Now we have a rotation with Skip and Højbjerg and these two guys. We have a solid rotation. Winks can be a utility guy, a bench guy. Like he will definitely be kind of filling up the gaps rather than being a main guy. I also think, like, if you look at, we remember with Conte blocking Tanguy, we were quite surprised, many of us, about that, blocking his loan to Milan. Now it makes sense that they down prioritized maybe the defensive work, and like you say, if a Davis gets hurt, it's Tanguy stepping into that spot, I think, so that makes kind of sense in terms of that. I would also say, like the fact that we're getting these wages off the books and getting this culture out the club is, of course, something that is gonna lighten everything. Like, the whole atmosphere around the place is gonna be lightened. Now we can really start going into the Conte mentality. Kulusevski and Bentancur are gonna slot right in there. Now we're starting to build almost a majority of players who will be in that frame of mind. So it will start turning, for sure, have a big effect on the more kind of on the fence players. So. Yeah, so yeah, I would say in terms of personnel, we could definitely have done more, but like Levy fucked us there, And in terms of protest and the window and stuff, I would say, Ben, because you said you wouldn't be protesting, I would say that Levy out is completely irrespective of what we get in or out. I think Levy out is us knowing that Levy is not a good person to have around our transfers. If that means Levy just out of football, fine. But he's never quite out as a chairman. We know that he's always likely to gain some confidence and get back into his old ways of dealing. But hopefully he will now learn from this experience, and Conte and Paratici will make sure to remind him, and they will have free hands in the summer. Levy will just sign the checks. Hopefully, that's what I'm hoping for. I'm trying to find the hope and the positivity out of this. So yeah, I think clearing all these players is actually a much bigger deal than we maybe realize at this point. That being said, it really kind of shocked me this morning how much it's a little bit heartbreaking seeing Dele go, to be honest. I really
I felt the
feel,
same, Jory. I felt the same.
yeah,
Nearly brought a tear to my eye last night.
yeah, and he's such a good boy, in the core, and he's made so many really special memories. Even though maybe you're right, he's not a legend as such, but in his own way, he was kind of like the prodigal son in our club for a long time, and in general, because I've already, even though I've been very harsh on Levy and on Dele and talked about his bad attitude and so on, I think he's a really good kid, to be honest. And
we're only so harsh on him, Jory, because we know what he can produce, isn't it?
Exactly, yeah, exactly, and that's exactly the story with the prodigal son. Exactly. Maybe it's a little bit too much of a burden. Hopefully he can go to Everton and have a load off and find his creativity and his joy of football again. I really hope so. I really want to see that kid succeed. So So yeah, but that shocked me a little bit. But I wish him all the best, and I hope the fans kind of give him a good exit, and yeah, he deserves our respect, I think.
Yeah, and early next month, it's going to be a quick return for Dele Alli because we welcome Everton at home quite early on next month. So it'll be a nice moment within the stadium that we can give him the actual send-off that he actually deserved.
Exactly. I certainly hope you do a good job there, guys. But yeah, to sum it all up, I definitely think in terms of project, we did really good. That being said, if we don't get the top 4 spot, we've taken on a lot of difficulty as well, So it complicates things a lot. But I do think now Conte is more content the way it ended now. Even if we don't get top 4 now, I do think, like, if nothing else happened, I do think that we have Conte in a good place. Of course, if other stuff goes on in the club and Levy does more of his Levy stuff, then it's all up for grabs again, But yeah.
When we were speaking a couple of days ago, Jory, we were both in kind of agreement that it's a 6 out of 10 window. After sleeping on it, I mean, do you still stand by that?
Yeah. I think the window as a window is that. But what I'm really happy with, like, analyzing it afterwards, I actually think it's a big step in our project, So I guess I could rate the window higher from that point of view, but I do think you should rate the window, based on are you strengthening play here and now or not, and that's still a 6 for me. If I can give it two marks, I would say it's a 6 in terms of the window and a 8 in terms of the project, 7-8 in terms of the project. Yeah.
Jory, I think I'd agree with you there, but thanks for coming on once again. Always great to speak to you, Jory, and we'll speak to you soon.
Nice one, Jory. Have a good one.
Bye.
See you later, man. All right. Is there any more super chats to get through?
Yeah, I think there was one from Rashad Chowdhury. Says, okay window, but now we need a fight for top 4. Come on, you Spurs. OB Sports Car says, prison signed DT and Arsenal couldn't sign anyone. That's that. And Jacob Malinder says, rebuild is on, boys. Hungry young players coming in with a coach that demands hunger and energy. Positive ins, positive out. Even Emerson can improve. I think definitely positives there. There are definitely a lot of positives this window. Just whether...
But there are negatives as well.
Exactly. You can't take away from the negatives. And there's some news from Lyle Thomas, Sky Sports. He's reported that Heung-min Son is an exclusive. Heung-min Son is back in training and he's fully fit to be in contention for Tottenham against Brighton in the FA Cup. Conte has no injury concerns after the winter break. And full story on the way. So apparently there's more to it, apparently.
So
but
Romero's back, Sonny's back, clean bill of health.
He said no injury concerns. He says Bentancur is expected to fly in on Thursday after duty with Uruguay in a World Cup qualifier tonight. Spurs will wait on work permits for him and Kulusevski so they can begin training.
Good, clean bill of health going into the second half of the season. That's what we like to hear.
Very good start to the second half. So we'll just wait to the Brighton game. We're going to get like 5 injuries.
Yeah, pretty much. All right, let's keep going with the guests. It's Mikey and Leah. Hi, guys.
Hey, guys.
How you doing?
How you doing? You all right?
I'm all good, yeah. How have you guys been?
Yeah, all good, all good. Can't complain. You got a big smile on your face, Mikey. Is that because you got your woman next to you, or is it because of the Tottenham transfer window?
You could say it's both. I mean, I was a week back in the UK and I had an opportunity to come here again, so I decided to take it. But I'm very happy with the window. I'm not ultimately happy because I think the key positions that we need to upgrade haven't been strengthened in the way that they could have been. I know people will talk about the Kulusevski deal. I'm very happy with that. Obviously, he's He's a talent. Obviously, he probably couldn't get the best out of him at Juventus. Let's hope that Tottenham can, and Bentancur is again more depth in midfield where I guess you could say we had 3 options. It might have been a little bit soft, but then 4 options could be a little bit too much. But it gives us two rotations. It gives us a starting pair and a sort of rotational pair, which I'm very happy with. But the problem position is coming up again. Harry Kane hasn't had his injury yet, and he always gets one. He always gets an injury.
He didn't get one last year, did he?
Oh no, well, I mean, I'm not backing his luck this time because he's looked tired for this season. I know probably his attitude in the Man City transfer had something to do with that, but I'm almost expecting a Harry Kane injury, and then I'm not pessimistic. I don't want to see pessimistic, but we didn't buy a backup, and that was one of our key targets, was to take the burden off Harry Kane. For 6-7 years now, we've been rushing him back from injury each time. Every time to play, like for the Champions League final, we started him even though he wasn't fully fit, and we needed maybe a right wing back. But I'll give Emerson some time to prove himself. But I think incomings there could have been more done. But I'm very happy with the outgoings. That's what brings it up for me. I think I'm very happy with the outgoings.
Would you say Conte has been backed this window, Mikey?
To a certain extent, yes, I would say he has. But I think it was less of Conte's backing and more Tottenham's position. I mean, let's say we missed out on the Adama deal because of various factors. I won't go into that. It still kind of angers me, but I'm not too mad. The Luis Diaz deal, it was reported that Liverpool were interested in him long before we were. So, it's it's not a huge deal, but I'm very happy. It's not a huge deal that Conte hasn't been backed fully, but I think genuinely that Conte's been backed enough to say it's been a more positive than negative window. What about you?
All right.
I mean, I think,
Leah, what I wanted to ask you is, we spoke a few days ago about Tanguy Ndombele. You were excited about the prospect of him joining PSG, but he has gone to Lyon. What's your response to that?
I think that I'm glad he didn't come to PSG, by the way. But I think he'll be a really good fit for Lyon, especially right now. But him at PSG wouldn't have worked out. We have enough players, and he wouldn't have worked out for Lyon. He's perfect. And also, I think the Tottenham's transfer window was good. It was just above average. It was it was good enough. You could have done a few more signings, and you could have filled in a few more important players in important positions. But so far, it's been all right. So yeah.
What do you think they could have done more?
I mean, you just need a bit more creative midfielders, because you sold Dele Alli, you sold did you sell Lo Celso? You sold him as well.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
if you 4 of them, if you sell 4 of them, if you get out 4 of them, you need at least 2 more to fill in that place in the team. But I think Antonio Conte can figure out how to work with what he has, and I think you can get top 4 with enough hard work. And yeah,
I agree with Leah. There's not many better managers in the world, and if anyone can get top 4 with this squad, it's Antonio Conte. I'm happy. I'm not going to beat around the bush and say I'm negative. I'm happy with what we've done. I'm very happy with the deals we've made, but I feel like, especially that backup striker, I have a feeling it might come back to haunt us. And I'm first of all, I'm just happy to get Ndombele out of the club. He was stinking up the atmosphere. He was rotting the dressing room, and I'm glad if the reports are to be believed that Lo Celso wasn't liked and Dele's attitude wasn't exactly the best. We've seen that for a couple of years. Then I'm glad that those 3 have been shipped off. But we've lost all 3 of our creative midfielders. I would like to have gotten, like what Leah said too. I would have been happy with 1, just a replacement that would have, if to call upon in big games, to be able to play as a further playmaker, because Skip, Winks, and Højbjerg, they're very. I can't claim to know enough about Bentancur to comment on what position he should play, because I don't watch Juventus games. But yeah, overall, I'm happy with the window. I would say I agree with her. It's been just above average, but I would love to have gotten a backup striker would have been a much more complete window, in my view, anyway. But yeah.
All right. Nice one, guys.
Happy days.
Good to see
We'll
you guys.
See you very soon, guys. Thanks for coming on, guys.
Thank you.
Speak
You're
to you guys
welcome.
in a bit.
Bye.
See you. All right, let's go on to Coach Stell, people. Coach,
Hello,
how are you
hello.
doing today?
How you doing, guys?
You good? Stell?
Yeah, I'm
see you,
alright,
mate.
guys. Yeah, I think there's a bit of a time lag. I don't know if there's a lag on the talk.
Stell, aren't you supposed to be here in 10 minutes?
Yeah, I am, but you lot went on for about 3 hours, and we're sitting in the back here saying we've actually got a private chat going on, and I said, have I got time to go for a jog?
And do you? What did he say?
No, I went and had a shower instead.
Oh, okay. Fair enough. You
Stell-
skipped the jog bit and just went straight to the shower.
Yeah,
So,
exactly, yeah.
obviously, we spoke a lot yesterday about the transfer window business and people going out and people coming in. We've been asking this question today, and I think a lot of people asking, because going into this window, there was a whole big thing: back Conte, hashtag back Conte. Cody Mack ending call saying back Conte, you bald F word. Has we now finished the window? We've done the business has been done. Has Conte been backed?
It all depends what your perceptions were of what your thoughts were of being backed. For me, I would say no, he hasn't been backed because we haven't got players in the positions that he would have needed for his system. Had we got a right back, right wing back, a second striker, and a goal scoring midfielder, perhaps that will be Kulusevski, we don't know. Then I would have said, yeah, he has been backed. I only ever expected 2 or 3 signings. But nobody mentioned Bentancur or Kulusevski. Even with the week to go, no one mentioned their names. And suddenly, at the 12th hour, we've gone and got 2 players from Juventus.
Well, Kulu was actually linked with us before the window. He has been linked with us before.
Yeah, I mean, everyone's linked with us before the window, but it was very evident that we were going for Adama Traore and Luiz. They were the 2 players that we were heavily going for, and we didn't get them for whatever reason. So we've ended up saying, right, now what do we do? And we've gone to
So wait a second, Stell.
plan
Wait
B.
a second. Wait a second, Stell. You're saying that Kulusevski, nobody mentioned him before a week to go the window. Nobody mentioned Diaz before a week to go the window either.
Yeah, you're right, but they're the players we were going for during the middle of the transfer window. We didn't wait to the last minute and say, right, what do we do? Panic. We said,
Diaz
right.
was without five days to go.
It was the last. No, it was 1 minute. Traore was when? In the
Traore
second
was the
week?
beginning of the window. That's you're completely right on Traore. But
Okay,
Diaz
and
was
Diaz
towards
was-
the end of the window.
Okay. Well, Kulusevski and Bentancur were 2 days to go.
Yeah.
So they were definitely plan B compared. If we got Diaz, would we have signed Kulusevski? I doubt it. So we've gone and bought some last minute signings. I'm not saying they won't be good. They could both turn out to be good players for us. I said yesterday, I think they're a risk. I think both players are risky signings because they're not proven in the Premier League. They're both young. One is young. The other one has got a bit more pedigree about them. They're both not starters for Juventus. But the
At least we
job
had a
of a
plan B though,
scout...
Stell.
I was about to say, the job of a scout or a director of football is to unearth some gems. So if they turn out to be some gems that we've unearthed, brilliant. But I'm only going by Paratici's record so far. And Emerson has been a flop. Galini, I doubt he'll be at Spurs next season. Bryan Gil lasted 4 months and he's gone back out on loan. And Pape Sarr was already a pre-agreed loan deal, so we can't really look at that one. Romero, we could say is the only successful signing, but he hasn't played enough games yet for us to really say that he is a successful signing. But I think we all agree that he will turn out to be a good player. So out of the 5 signings, 1 we could say has been good. So
But can
you're
you
then
really-
asking me to talk about Kulusevski and Bentancur. Well, I'm going to base it on Paratici's record at the Spurs. And so
Can
far,
you
it hasn't
really
been
call
great.
Emerson
So
a flop?
let's... So,
Can you call Emerson a flop?
what's he done?
It's irrelevant about what he's done, but he's only been here for half a season. He's 21 years old, coming into a brand new league. You're going to call him a flop straight away?
Well, okay.
Surely
then
you
he's
need
a
time to
project-
become a flop.
Okay, then he's a project signing.
Yeah.
Is that what we're about? Project signings? I don't think we
Well-
are. I think Conte isn't someone that wants project signings.
Well,
Conte
when,
wants
but when
players that are gonna-
Paratici first came in and he was making these signings, Conte wasn't there, and we were on a project.
Oh, so Nuno was on a project.
Nuno, when
Yeah.
Paratici came in, Paratici said his role is to decrease the age of the squad and to start on a new project. It's not about short term; it's about the long term. That's what he said.
Okay, so when we sacked Nuno, we said, right, we're not doing a project anymore. We're going for instant success.
Pretty much, yeah.
Well, then Paratici clearly doesn't know what he's doing, does he?
Well, is it?
So
I don't know if it's
why-
Paratici or
why-
Levy
so-
or what?
Okay, so the people that make the decisions at the top clearly don't know what they're doing.
Yeah, we
because
know
one
that.
minute it's a project, right? So therefore, you want me to trust their signings?
I'm not saying trust their signings. I'm saying, what was the question? Do you think they're good signings, or
Has Conte been backed?
or has Conte been backed?
No, because these players aren't proven. They're risks. They're a risk signing. Had we signed Traore, we know he's proven in the Premier League at what he does. Whatever it is that he does, he's proven to do it. If we had signed Lamperty, he has proven he's doing it in the Premier League. So I don't look at those as risky signings. To bring in Kulusevski and to bring in Bentancur, they don't start for Juventus. There's a reason they don't
Bentancur
start.
does,
He starts week in, week out for Juventus.
more or less.
No, he doesn't.
No, he doesn't.
No, he doesn't.
So how many games does he not start then? You know what I mean? He starts a lot of
Well,
games.
he's not a first team regular. That's the point I'm trying to make, right? Kulusevski definitely isn't. So
Kulusevski is.
I'm
I
not
agree
saying
with you there.
I'm not saying that's a problem, by the way, guys. I think we're having an argument that doesn't actually exist.
There's
I'm
no
not saying
argument.
it's a
We're just having a
problem.
conversation.
Okay, I'm not saying that they are bad signings. I'm saying they're a risk. Yeah, if we had signed a Vlahovic, if we had signed a Lamperty, like I said, or a Kessie, I don't think they're a risk because they're turning up trees. All those players right now are turning up trees. They're clearly good players. They're proving that there's something about them. Yes, of course, they might come to Spurs and turn to shit. That can happen with any player. We know that. But I think they're a very low risk and they're good signings. Kulusevski and Bentancur, I can't pronounce his name correctly, sorry guys, but the two boys we bought from Juventus, they could turn out to be really good. They could turn out to be, a waste of money. We don't know. That's why I say, for me, I think they're a risk. So if we're going to buy risky signings, I don't think that's backing Conte. I think Conte is the kind of manager that you give him the tools that are ready to go now and say, right, there's the players you need. Let's get this party started. So I don't think Conte was backed. No.
But in terms of outgoings, you think that surely is an indication of the club listening to what Conte wants, right?
I think we've done a great job in the players we've got rid of. I think we again, I look at the last transfer window and it's the same pattern. Whether Nuno's in charge or Conte, it's the exact same pattern. We've done a better job at getting rid of players than what we've done of bringing players in. In the summer, we got rid of like 12 players and we brought in 5. Just now, we've got rid of 5 players and we've brought in 2. So it's the same process we've gone through. There's nothing has changed regardless of the manager. But what I will say is the players that have gone out, I believe, are definitely the kind of players that Conte would have wanted out of the door. So when I look at it, I would say that squad-wise, I think we're weaker. Mentality-wise, I think we're stronger. I think the mentality now of the unit, of the group of players we've got, will be stronger because we haven't got lazy players. We haven't got players that are moaning and complaining, players that, are just not putting in 100%. So the mentality is definitely better, without doubt.
Yeah. Okay. And what was I going to say? That's in terms of Paratici, we've been talking about him. Is it slightly disappointing / concerning that in this January transfer window, it seems as though people are saying obviously Paratici's in charge of the transfers and everything, but the patterns that we've seen in this transfer window have definitely followed very similar patterns to when Daniel Levy had both hands full reign on footballing matters when it came to transfers. Is that concerning to you?
All right. Ben, Sim, I'm going to be so honest now with what I'm about to say. I am not going to talk about anything to do with Daniel Levy and ENIC for a while. And I'll tell you why, right? I'll tell you why. I went to the protest yesterday. And when I mean underwhelming, it was underwhelming. I kind of went home a little bit despondent. There was a couple of others, not to mention names, that were really upset by it. And I get why. And I think having slept on it and woken up this morning, I've got a different viewpoint on things as it stands now, and I'm still ENIC out and Levy out. I still think they're going to let us down when it matters. But having said that, I'm not going to protest about them, and I'm not going to say who I think's in charge or who's not in charge, because I'm just going to end up going into a rant about them, because I don't think our fan base. We don't have the fan base to take action when needed. So, yeah, we can talk about Levy and ENIC, and we can talk about whether we think they're good or bad, or they're still in charge, or they're still kind of directing the course of play when it comes to transfers, because we still left it late. But for me, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, because I can't do anything to change it, because we don't have the numbers that are prepared to take action. We've got a lot of talkers. We've got a lot of Twitter active people on Twitter that will fire their thoughts out there. But what I personally experienced the last 2 days, the shit that was thrown at me, honestly, the unbelievable levels that certain Spurs media accounts and other YouTube channels started throwing at me and others because we were protesting was unbelievable, you know. So I'm just going to take a step back from it, because I just feel it gets it's not something that I feel I can do anything about, because when it really matters, guys, when it really matters, the majority of our fan base will accept something that is just about tolerable. So if we make 2 signings, the fan base will be okay. All right, that's enough. We can accept that. If we miss out on top 4, but come 5th or 6th this season, I guarantee you the fan base will say, okay, all right, that's just about acceptable. We'll take that. I'm not like that. I don't accept these things, but I'm in the minority. So as long as I'm in the minority, there's no point me talking about Levy or ENIC. And one last thing I want to add to this, guys. One last thing I want to add to this is, regardless of what your opinions are on the owners, your opinion is your opinion. And I can back up my opinion, and I can have a conversation, a debate, an argument with anyone about ENIC and Levy. And I can go on all day about it. But I will never call you negative or label you as something because your opinion is different to mine. I've been labelled a lot the past couple of days. And I'm not calling anyone out, because I could easily mention names. But I'm just saying, to people that want to label other fans because their opinions are different, you need to stop that out. You need to cut that out, because that says more about you and your opinions than others and their opinions, right? We all support Tottenham. We all want to win trophies. We all want to see Conte win the Premier League and lift the FA Cup. We'd love it. We'd all love it. But we just disagree in the process on how to get there. And I don't think we should label each other. So, guys, it was a real epiphany I had last night in the freezing cold, standing there with 15 others, just saying to myself, okay, where is everyone? You know?
Yeah, I think Stel, I think you're feeling a lot of the same feelings that I had when I came back from some of the Super League protests and stuff like that, where I was standing outside the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium with, you know, you can count the people on your hand. The first time it was just me and John Cooper and Charlie, THFC, just walking around the stadium, just us three, with camera crews around from whatever, and we got on camera and stuff like that. But I felt exactly the same with you, just completely dejected. But my opinion on the protest yesterday was that if we didn't get any signing through the door, I would have been there. But I felt like to protest on the last day of the transfer window should have been only about signings. But after we got signings through the door, people started to say the protest, oh, it's not about signings, it's about high ticket prices, it's about this, it's about the ownership as a whole. So why are you doing it on the last day of the transfer window then if it's not about signings?
Because the Sky camera's there, I'm guessing. That's
you know what I mean? No, so that's why.
I think.
No, but I mean,
what-
you can find the Sky cameras.
I think if we're going to be honest about it, guys, there's some people that will protest because of 21 years of how the club's been run. There will be some fans who protest because they've had enough of the last 2 or 3 managers, Redknapp, Poch, not properly being backed. And there are some people that will protest because they're just fed up with the constant chopping and changing of managers, players. So I think everyone's got a different reason for why they protest. And perhaps this whole ENIC out, Levy out message gets lost because it can have many meanings depending on why you're protesting. But I think ENIC out means we don't want these owners owning the club, and Levy out means we don't want Daniel Levy as chairman of the football club. And when people say, okay, show me the new owner, that's not my job. That's down to the owners of Tottenham to show you the new owner. I'm not a billionaire. I don't have a network of billionaire friends where I can go and say, hi, Johnny, can you drop me £3 billion? So I mean, it's a ridiculous question when people say that. It's a bit like saying, we need to buy a top player. And then someone says, show me the top player. Well, I'm not Paratici, am I? I'm not Daniel Levy. I don't do the buy. I can give you a list. I can tell you who I would like. I'd like Jeff Bezos. I'd like Apple. I'd like Samsung. I'd like Coca-Cola there you go. There's some people I wouldn't mind owning the club. I can give you some players. I'd like us to buy De Bruyne. I'd like us to buy Lamperty. But what does that matter? It doesn't matter what I think because it's down to what the club do. So, yeah, listen, Ben, I think how you felt is where I'm at now. I agree, buddy. I kind of I had the epiphany last night. I woke up this morning and I just felt like it's not I'm not fighting a dying cause because I will still say Levy out, ENIC out until I see trophies. Until I see trophies, I've got every right to have that opinion. But in terms of trying to force change and trying to take action, nah. We do not have the fan base prepared to do it. We don't have that fan base. So it's hard.
I just think there needs to be a key message when you're protesting. There needs to be a really key message, and this protest, it was to do around transfers. That's what the message was. And then as soon as transfers started coming in, the message completely changed. So I think that it was hard for a few people to follow through on the protest because of transfers coming in. Yeah, you're right. I don't disagree with that at all, Ben. What I would also add, though, is we had a very clear message that Tottenham wanted to remove us from the Premier League and join this ESL group. Yeah. That message could not have been any clearer. Yeah. Look at the numbers that turned out for that. So yeah. It doesn't matter. Like, we could have a really powerful message or a kind of confusing message. We do not have the fan base prepared to take action. We've got a lot of talkers. We've got a lot of people that are very active on social media. And we've got a lot of YouTube channels that will say, I'm not talking about you guys, by the way, because, Ben, you have been to protests. And you guys did have ENIC out banners on you in your studio a while back. But there's a number of YouTube channels that will talk. They've got to change. They've got to do this. But you don't do anything about it. You don't do anything about it. You just talk and talk and talk and moan and moan, which is fair enough. But I'm not someone that can moan and not do something about it. I've never been like that with anything I do in life. I'll moan, but then I've got to do something about it. But yeah, I just don't think our fan base is like that. So. Yeah, it is what it is, man. All right, Stel. Always a pleasure to speak to you, my friend. I'm sure I'll see you very soon. I mean, it's 2:30 now, so you should be here.
Yeah, I'll be there. I'll be there shortly.
We'll see you soon, Stel.
Guys, listen. One last message I want to send out to everyone watching the show today, and that is, regardless of what we think, and regardless of where we're at as fans, I think when you look at the transfer window, Man United for me are favourites to get top 4. Okay, yeah, because they've got the quality. I think Arsenal have absolutely fucked themselves. I really do. I had them down to finish above us, but after this transfer window, I don't. I think West Ham haven't strengthened, and they could have needed to have strengthened because they're still in Europe. So I think it's a 2-horse race between Spurs and Man United for top 4. But Man United are favourites because, someone said, what happens if Ronaldo gets injured? Well, they've got Rashford and Cavani. So I just don't understand. They have got a better quality squad. But we do have the better manager. So everyone just get behind Tottenham, get behind the team. Let's try and get them over the line because we're not going to get top 4 through skill, sexy football, the beautiful game we want to see. But we can get top 4 through pure hard work. The lazy players are out the door. Kulusevski, Bentancur, they're grafters, right? We need to grind this out. Roll up our sleeves and grind this one out. It's not going to be pretty at times, but we can get top 4 on hard work. And Conte's got the players now that will work hard for him. So let's just get behind the team and get this one over the line.
Get behind the team and up the Spurs. Come on, Stel. We'll see you very soon.
Let's go.
See you very soon. Come on. Just before we end the stream, we've had an announcement, a statement from Dele Alli on his exit from Spurs, and I'll just read it out for you. It's just been posted on his Twitter. It says, "It's the end of a chapter, but not the book. Thank you all for the messages. I've had an incredible 7 years at Tottenham and have made some lifelong friends that now feel like family. I want to wish my brothers all the best for the rest of the season and more. To the fans, I want to say thank you. We've had some incredible moments together that will stay with me for the rest of my life, and I'll never forget the amazing support you have given me. Playing for you was a dream come true, and you will always be in my heart. I want to give a special mention to Maurizio and his staff for their trust and guidance in the early part of my career at Spurs, which gave me the confidence and platform to show what I can do. I love you all and wish you all the best in the future. Dele out."
Classy message from Dele.
I'm getting a tear in my eye here.
Kind of want him to come back now. Sign him,
Dele. Oh, Dele Alli.
Never going to hear that again.
Yeah, of course we are. We're going to hear it next month against Everton.
Not in a Tottenham shirt though.
No.
So such a shame. But it's a shame it's ended like that. But classy message, and I wish him all the best in the future.
Yeah. And I think I'm not sure if these super chats have been read out.
No, I think B Sing H.
Go on, you go for it.
B Sing HU says we complain about missing out on players from abroad before their price goes up, but then complain about getting players who haven't played in the Premier League. Fair point. Paul Gregory says, didn't Stel tell us to be happy to have no expectations? So 2 signings, he should be over the moon, technically. And Jacob Keats says, Stel and Levy both out, 2 negative. Jeez.
Is that it?
Yeah, that's it.
All right. That brings a conclusion to the live stream today. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. We'll be back very soon with Sim and Stel going live for another tactics session. So look forward to that. Thank you, everyone, for joining today. Like, subscribe, and comment. And as always, come on, you Spurs.